Today is a great day for a Minnesota MUFON meeting. That's what I say today is. Today's a great day for a Minnesota MUFON meeting. So let's have one. Let's get started. So we're kicking it off. My name is Tom Maher. I'm the Minnesota MUFON State Director. And I'm going to go right back to our slideshow because I got there's lots of stuff to cover today. Got lots of stuff I want to show you. So I'm going to start off here. So today's MUFON meeting is sponsored by Lance Uden. Lance Uden. So to sponsor our monthly Zoom meeting is $13.49, or if you want to sponsor our joke of the month, it's $10 for the joke of the month. So sponsoring the Zoom meeting, that allows us to have this meeting, allows us to have board meetings and any other meetings we need to have via Zoom. So Lance covered us for this month, so that's fantastic. So I want to thank Lance. And if you want to donate to Minnesota MUFON, all you got to do is contact our treasurer, Jan Swenson. Her email is jan.swenson.pioneer@gmail.com. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to mention her email a few times. So if you don't get it right now, but you want it, it's going to come up a couple more times. So have your pen and paper handy. The Swensons aren't here today, and we'll get into why that is in a little bit. But yeah, so jan.swenson.pioneer@gmail.com. So we still appreciate and need your donations to continue to bringing you programming every month. So MUFON members, we ask for a donation of $5, and MUFON guests, we ask for a donation of $7 to continue to support Minnesota MUFON and our fine programming. Contact our treasurer, Jan Swenson, at jan.swenson.pioneer@gmail.com. We accept PayPal, Zelle, credit cards, personal checks, and cash. And of course, and I say this most sincerely, your kindness is appreciated. You guys have been very kind and very generous in supporting us. We absolutely, positively appreciate that. So I don't want you to think that we don't, because we certainly do. Minnesota MUFON State Director, me. You can hear me on 95 KQDS radio in Duluth on the third Thursday of every month. Cross your fingers because there's been mix-up and stuff at approximately 8:40. Days and times are subject to change. But you can go to northlandmufon.com for details and recordings. And I was actually recently interviewed by a U of M journalism student about MUFON and ufology in Minnesota. So he's interested in interviewing Minnesota MUFON board of directors, Minnesota MUFON field investigators, and any members in general who have UFO stories. So even if you're not on the board, you're not a field investigator, if you've got a story you'd like, he's working on it for his journalism class. So he's going to be submitting it for part of his classwork, but it may get published in a University of Minnesota article. So he's working on that. So if you're interested in sharing your story and being interviewed by this gentleman, shoot me an email at mufontom@epcoachtom.com. I'll get you connected, and you can have an interview. He interviewed me, I think, 2 days ago. It was kind of fun, so it was kind of cool. So if you're interested in that, just let me know. And attention all our field investigators, it's always a great day to log on to MUFON University. So you can take Field Investigator 1 trainings, such as basic photo and video analysis and case dispositions, Field Investigator 2 trainings, such as typical Field Investigator kits, robotic missions to space, Field Investigator 3 trainings, such as entity cases and abduction cases, and there's also leadership trainings and STAR team and ERT trainings. There's a lot out there. So yeah, if you're a MUFON Field Investigator, it's always good to go out to MUFON University and check in and see what MUFON has to teach you on that. So, and the courses are relatively short, I'd say they're usually under 20 minutes, but there's a lot of information in them, so it's very cool. I strongly encourage you to get out there and get your training in at MUFON University. And if you're not a MUFON field investigator and you'd like to, I'd like you to consider becoming a field investigator. Why, do you ask? Well, because you can help us find the answers. You can help witnesses understand what they saw. You get to investigate some cool cases. You get to work with the other field investigators. Sometimes, not often, but occasionally you can do on-site investigations. You can learn more about the local area. There's some camaraderie and be a part of the bigger picture. But why would you do that? Well, because MUFON educates the public. That's one of our goals. We'll get to the goals in a little bit. But do you know of a group that would enjoy a presentation from Minnesota MUFON? These could be church groups, book clubs, Lions clubs, benefactors clubs, Rotary clubs, science clubs, social clubs, Knights of Columbus, schools, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and others. Me and Mike Harris, we did a presentation a couple years back for, I think it was a Rotary Club. A lot of fun. Me and Mike went out there. I was like an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and had a good time. Mike had lots of stories. They all wanted to hear what Mike had to say, so that was kind of cool. I think I had to get the big hook and kind of pull Mike off stage because he just loves sharing all of his knowledge and experience on UFOs and ufology. So they really enjoyed Mike's presentation. So yeah, so we do that. If you got a group that would like a presentation from us, we do that at no charge. We're trying to educate the public, so we'll certainly do that for your group. So contact us, let us know, and we'll see if we can create something for you. And how do we become a member of Minnesota MUFON? Great question. So all you need to do is become a member of MUFON, the global organization, and you use a Minnesota address. When you sign up for MUFON and use a Minnesota address, you're automatically a member of Minnesota MUFON. So that's how that works. But did you know Minnesota MUFON has two chapters, and you'd be a part of both. So Minnesota MUFON, which kind of like southern Minnesota, meets in the Twin Cities and online, and we assign all the cases. And then there's Northland MUFON, which is northern Minnesota and all of North Dakota. They meet in both Fargo and Grand Rapids and online. And I think their meetings, so Fargo and Grand Rapids, those meetings are at the same time. They're not two separate meetings. They meet at the same time on Zoom, and you can join them online. So more information about them, go to northlandmufon.com for more details. And you want to join your membership? Here's all the different membership options that we have. And be careful, because I fell into this trap. You see the button that's marked there? $8.89 for a month basic membership, hard copy journal. That's a monthly membership. I renewed my membership on that one, thinking it was a monthly membership. You can set it up to pay every month, but I didn't. I just set it up for the monthly membership. So my membership expired. And I was like, wait a minute, I just paid for this. But down below, there's your yearly membership. So you can you can set either the monthly or the yearly to renew automatically. So, uh, and that's also a great thing too, because if you're a guest or a visitor, and you're like, I don't know if I want to move on membership. I don't know if I want to jump on board. Here's a great opportunity. You could just join for a month or two. Try it out. See if you like it. If it's a good fit for you, you can get it continuing, or you can do a year-long membership, which is a little bit cheaper. But yeah, I like the fact that they give you the option of just having a monthly membership. I think that's pretty cool. So I'm going to zip through our memberships. We've got our basic membership, which is you get the e-journal. You add 20, so it's the e-journal, but for $29 more, you can get the hard copy mailed to you directly. The hard copy journals are very cool. It's all colors, so yeah. Then our enhanced membership gets everything is the same as the regular, but you also get the live stream of the MUFON annual symposium, which is pretty cool. And then there's the VIP, which you get all kinds of stuff. You get a great big welcome kit with all these little MUFON trinkets and stuff, so very cool for that. And then our researcher package, almost $400 per year. And I was surprised. Most of the newer members in MUFON start with this package. I was surprised to learn that. I would have expected them to start with some of the cheaper packages, but most of them, the newer members, are starting with this package, getting all the pen and the lapel pin and the hat and all that. So very cool stuff. Again, to explore the various membership opportunities, or to become a MUFON member, go to MUFON.com/join, or just MUFON.com, and there's like a register or join button there too. You can find that very easily. And one of the things you get is the MUFON journal. This isn't our current MUFON journal. This is the February one. The March one, they don't have it published online yet, so I can't show that to you. And I showed you this to you last month, so I'm going to just kind of breeze right by some of this stuff. February Skywatch, February's over with, so I don't have the March one, because again, the journal's not published. This comes in the journal, so. And our Minnesota MUFON membership, March, we're at 67. We went up one from since last month. So, Jared, when you're watching this, we're on an upswing again. We're moving back. We're moving back up. Not fast, but we got one extra membership, so we're moving back up. So that's a good thing. You'll see February of 2024, we hit our peak at 102. It'd be nice if we could break 102 by the end of the year. That'd be fantastic. But boy, yeah, that 66 we had last month, that's, I think, the lowest on this entire chart. I don't think we've been at 66 any of the months that I've tracked it. So yeah, so 67, we're probably the second lowest one too. I don't think we've got any that are that low. So we're moving back up. So if you are a visitor or guest here, we'd love to have you join a MUFON and become a Minnesota MUFON member. That would be fantastic. And you would make Jared Nelson smile. Now, isn't that worth it? That's worth the cost of admission right there. Make Jared Nelson smile. That's always a good thing. That's one of my daily goals. How can I make Jared Nelson smile? So hopefully this little comment will make him smile. So, all right. So MUFON is excited to announce, and I've talked about this before. I'm going to go through this kind of quick. The Project Aquarius Digital Library. If you're a guest here, I talk about this a lot, so I'm going to breeze through this kind of fast, because there's a lot in What's Up in Minnesota this month. And there's actually not just a lot in What's Up in Minnesota. There's some interesting kind of, I'll call them stats and stuff that's coming up. So you can purchase a 1-year access to our digital library. These are the different rooms in the library. It's all virtual. So it's probably the largest online UFO UAP research library in existence. MUFON's been working on this for years with other private citizens and stuff. A lot of people get this all to come together, because one thing people have always said to me, MUFON's got all these cases, they've got all this data, they have all this information. Why aren't they sharing it with the world? Especially if you're educating the public, why are you keeping it all to yourselves? Now we're not keeping it all to ourselves. You get to see the stuff. So Mars Repository, it's our MUFON archive research and reporting system. So it's our Mars system. Cases going back to 67. Our witness sketch gallery, these are sketches that were submitted with cases. We've got over 7,000 of them. This is our news clippings gallery. This gallery is free to the public. You don't need to pay for this one, but this one's free. It's got newspaper clippings going back. So this one goes back to 1953. So if you want to look up historical newspaper clippings on different sightings in different areas, that's a great room to check out. The MUFON Journal. The MUFON Journal is going all the way back to 1967. This is one of the older ones. The newer ones are all color. They look much better. These are good, but they look much better now. And you can see all the stuff going on in MUFON back all the way back to 67. And then we got a private collections library, researchers. So these four researchers, the one on the right, that's actually Craig Lang. He's a former Minnesota MUFON member. He passed away, so his collection is going to be added there. We're going to get that out to Ohio and get that added. So, but like I said, Leonard Stringfield is there, and Edward Ruppelt, and yeah, so and Bob Pratt. So all their collections are out there. The symposiums, we have symposium every year. These are the proceedings from the symposium. We got them going all the way back. We're going to get them current, but they're not current yet, though. So. And you get an interactive multi-level UFO map. So this is a view from UFO stalkers. So you get all this stuff. And the cost of that is $50 a year. I mean, that's so much information for a full year. 50 bucks. And that's, I mean, it's just a great deal. So $50 get you access to all that stuff. And actually, remember, the newspaper clippings gallery, that one's free for you right now. And so, are you a Minnesota MUFON member? Are you interested in participating in Minnesota MUFON in a bigger way? Interested in working closer with the Minnesota MUFON leadership? Do you have some technology experience, or would you like some? And are you a people person? We're looking for a few volunteers to support us with various tasks. You can help make Minnesota MUFON an even better chapter. So, interested parties can speak to me or email me at mufontom@epcoachtom.com for more details. I got on a little earlier, and someone was asking me about being back in person again. And one of the things that's keeping us from being back in person is we need people, because we want to stay online, we want to be in person. We need people to run the computers and kind of do the Zoom and do all that to get us back online. I've got one guy who's really good at it or really willing to, and we need more support. I need at least two at every meeting. I'd like to have a team of six that we have trained in, so that way we have two at every meeting and you can rotate out. You don't have to be there every month. So that's one thing. We've still got a couple board positions that are open that we'd be interested in having people fill, like presenter coordinators, so yeah, stuff like that. So yeah, if you're interested in helping us out, we'd be happy to talk to you. You have to be a MUFON member. Yeah, you have to be a MUFON member for most of this. But yeah, so shoot me an email. Let me know if you're interested in helping us out. We would love to have you working with us. And Minnesota MUFON Symposium Fund. So MUFON requires chapter representation at the annual symposium. So our board of directors established a fund to send a representative, that would be me, to the symposium every year. So if you want to donate to help me get to the symposium this year, please contact Jan Swenson at jan.swenson.pioneer@gmail.com. And we appreciate your donations. I donated to the fund. I donated, I think, $100 so far. The MUFON board of directors donated a few $100s. So if you want to donate, we'd certainly appreciate that. I usually try to present the dollar amounts that we're looking for, and I don't have that set up yet. But yeah, the symposiums be pretty cheap, but usually airfares around three, four, maybe $500, and the hotel is kind of where the kicker is. That's usually between 800 and 1,000. So we're trying to raise that to get me to the symposium because they want to see my face down there and hear what I've got to say about the wonderful people in Minnesota MUFON. So. And again, I'd like to thank and actually the board of directors, we'd like to thank all the people who've donated in the past few months, because you guys, you really step up. We ask for donations. We get donations for the symposium fund. We get donations for the joke of the month. We get donations for the Zoom calls. We get just general donations, and we get your meeting dues. So we really appreciate all the generosity you've shown us, because it really does make a difference and it keeps us up and running. So thank you so much for that. And we are on social media. So on Facebook, we're MN MUFON. On YouTube, we're at Minnesota MUFON. On Instagram, we're at MN MUFON. And on Meetup, we're the Twin Cities UFO Research and Investigations Meetup. So a couple tricky things about that is if you're on Meetup, usually you can set a distance parameter for how far you're willing to go for a meeting. So we have some people who show up on these calls from like Florida and from Canada and from Ohio. If you go on Meetup, you might not find us because your radius isn't big enough to cover where we are. But if you're in the Twin Cities area, or say you're in northern Minnesota, you'd have to create a larger mileage radius to cover us to find us. But that's how you'd find us, Twin Cities UFO Research and Investigations Meetup. So that's us on social media. And if you need to contact me again, you can reach me by email at mufontom@epcoachtom.com. And make sure to check out our Northland MUFON website at northlandmufon.com. Got a little bit more to talk to you about Northland MUFON here shortly. And of course, don't forget to check out the global website, www.mufon.com. Speaking of Northland MUFON, there it is. There's Northland MUFON. But you know what I wanted to say about Northland MUFON is recently, Steve Hudgens, he is the director of investigations for MUFON. So in Minnesota, we have our field investigators, we have our chief investigator, and above the chief investigators around the country is the director of investigation. So he's like the big cheese. He'd been going out to different websites looking for the independent MUFON websites and just kind of looking at them. He came across the MUFON, Northland MUFON website. He sent an email to both me and Jared Nelson and said that he thought the Northland MUFON website was one of the best looking independent MUFON sites he'd seen out there. He was really impressed, really happy with it. And of course, I can't take any credit for that. That's all got to go to Jared Nelson because Jared's been busting his tail on this website. He's done a fantastic job, just a bang up job. So, yeah, Steve Hudgens, our director of investigations, is really impressed by this. So, if you haven't been out there, you go out there, I think you'll be impressed by it too. But yeah, so we got some big kudos from some MUFON higher ups. That's very cool. So congratulations and thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Jared Nelson. Jared Nelson does so much for Northland and Minnesota MUFON. We certainly appreciate all of your efforts, Jared. So glad to have you on board. So what can be found in the Northland MUFON website? Well, you can learn about Minnesota and Northland MUFON's beginnings. Thank you, Tori. And Tori Nelson's actually on this call right now, or he was earlier. Tori has been researching both the history of Minnesota MUFON. Northland MUFON's relatively new, so there's not a lot of history there, but Minnesota MUFON. MUFON overall was founded in 1969. Tori was able to trace back the beginnings and the roots of Minnesota MUFON prior to 1969. I think it's all the way back into the 1950s he found roots for Minnesota MUFON. So that's very cool. I didn't even know we went back that far. So you'll also find over 120 videos from Bob Schultz, and it's growing. We're anticipating 400 plus. So Bob Schultz is a local guy. He's a local member. He may be on this call or not, but he was a huge part in public access TV. He was putting out all sorts of UFO-related shows on public access TV. See, over 400. So past TV shows that Bob was part of. International UFO Congress. He was a big part of working with um, oh, now I'm blanking on the Star Works USA down there. So Bob was just, I think when it comes to public access TV, I think Bob Schultz won like every award possible in public access TV. He was like the public access guy, and he was putting ufology, Minnesota ufology, on public access TV like crazy. And actually, it was one of Bob's shows that actually got me aware of Minnesota MUFON back in the early 90s. So it was very cool. Bob did one of those shows, actually a couple of his shows. So Bob's contributed so much to ufology and especially Minnesota ufology. So that's out on Northland. Um, you can learn about upcoming meetings and speakers. There's Zoom links for meetings. There's recaps of past meetings. There's years worth of historical Minnesota MUFON journals. Minnesota MUFON used to have its own journal. We don't anymore, but for a while we had our own journal, which is pretty cool. Fascinating UFO-related articles and videos. You can watch past meetings of both Minnesota MUFON and Northland MUFON. Links to past recordings of me on KQDS radio, my monthly statistics and sightings that I do, yes, and much, much more. So, and Northland MUFON website's looking for more content. So if you'd like to contribute an article, a story, post some pictures of an ET up close and personal. If you've got one, we'd love to see it. Perhaps you have suggestions on what should be on the website. Please let us know. That's part of how Tori got onto that. He'd been working on the history stuff for a number of years. And he's like, "Hey, I'm gathering all this information. You should put it on a website." And we're like, "Tori, I think you belong on Northland MUFON." So that's kind of how Tori got in there. Let us know. The site's only going to be as good as we make it, and together we can make it one of the premier websites for ufology out there. Contact Northland MUFON info at gmail.com or go straight to the man, MN MUFON Jared, that's for Jared Nelson, at yahoo.com. And people are seeing it. Like I said, Steve Hudgens, Director of Investigations, thought it was a fantastic website. So again, more kudos and hats off to you, Jared. Oh, Minnesota MUFON's extraterrestrial joke of the month, Star Wars edition. And Ivor, I'm going to count on you. Ivor, if you can pop your chat up, I want you to let me know if someone puts an answer to the question in this one, because I got some Star Wars jokes coming up. Actually, I'll be honest with you, I came across a whole cache of really good Star Wars jokes. So we're probably going to be seeing a lot of Star Wars jokes in the future. So, but this month's joke is it's brought to you by MarsCon 2025, Gone Rogue, March 7th through the 9th. So MarsCon is at the Hilton Minneapolis St. Paul Airport Mall of America, 3800 American Boulevard East in Bloomington, Minnesota, 55425. And at MarsCon, it's a fan-run science fiction convention for all ages held every March in the Twin Cities area. At MarsCon, you'll find panel discussions, gaming, parties, guest of honor presentations, music of many kinds, an art show, a film anime room, a science room, dealer's auction, charity auction, and masquerade. But wait, there's more! Their Con and a Con comedy music track attracts performers and listeners from across the country. This is a veritable smorgasbord of sci-fi pack and sci-fi fun and adventure. Various ticket packages are available. I'll be speaking there this year. I've spoken there the past couple years. Very cool. Lots of people. There's so much stuff going on. There's no way you can see all of it because there's different presentations happening at the same time. It's just lots and lots of, like I said, sci-fi fun and adventure. Always people to talk to with interesting stories. Uh, Go to marscon.org/2025 for all the details. If you can find them, they've gone rogue. And I talked to you about the Swensons. Jan and Joe Swenson are like a huge part of MarsCon, so they're not here today because they're gearing up for MarsCon. So yeah, that's gonna be a fantastic thing. So um, yeah, so we'll look forward to that. That'll be a great thing. So yeah, if you can get out to MarsCon, make sure to check them out. But you know, you're here today. Maybe that's why there's not so many people. Maybe everyone's at MarsCon this weekend. So MarsCon tomorrow, you get there today, and then tomorrow is the last day. So check them out. But here's your joke of the month. What was Lando's nickname before he became a skilled pilot? What was Lando Calrissian's nickname before he became a skilled pilot? If you think you got the answer, put it in the chat. Ivor, I'm going to count on you. If someone gets their answer in there, I want you to let me know. What was Lando Calrissian's nickname before he became a skilled pilot? Any guesses? Don't look, don't Google it, don't Google it, don't cheat, don't Google it. Ivor, any guesses yet?
None yet.
None yet. Okay. I'm going to give you a few more seconds. What was Lando's nickname before he became a skilled pilot? Going to give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lando's nickname before he became a skilled pilot was Crash Dough. Lando, now was Crash Dough. Now he's a better pilot. So he's Lando, but before he was Crash Dough. So I don't know. Is anybody LOLing me? I hope someone's LOLing me. I thought it was kind of a cute joke. So no LOLs or laughing or anyone.
Nope. Nope.
No one enjoyed it.
No response at all.
No response at all. Oh no. Are there people out there? And maybe knock on the screen. Are you out there? Hello, are you listening? So let's go. So if you'd like to sponsor the Minnesota MUFON Joke of the Month, or if you want to submit a Minnesota MUFON Joke of the Month, submit your request to MUFONTom@epcoachtom.com. And I want to check something real quick. So for today, our MUFON's mission, we're going to go over our goals. Then we'll get into statistics and rankings. So MUFON's mission, the mission of MUFON is a scientific study of UFOs for the benefit of humanity. MUFON has 3 goals. Now, Ivor, I'm taking it you're not seeing my list, are you? You're still
I
seeing...
can. Yes, I can see it very well.
You see that? Okay, and that's fine. I don't think that's a big deal. So investigate UFO. So our goal is investigate UFO sightings and collect the data in the MUFON database for researchers worldwide. Promote research on UFOs to discover the true nature of the phenomenon with an eye towards scientific breakthroughs and improving life on our planet. And we educate the public on the UFO phenomenon and its potential impact on society, like I talked about earlier. We're educating the public. So let's go back and talk about our statistics. And so let's see what's happened. So these rankings, I'm pulling data from February 8th, the day of our last meeting, through yesterday. So that from the day of our last meeting to yesterday. So, that's the amount of time we're pulling from. So global rankings. So United States were at 338. Canada was at 17. United Kingdom had 12 sightings. Australia had 9. France had 4. Going all the way down to Russian Federation had 1. Spain had 1. Switzerland had 1. Uruguay had 1 for a total of 420 came into the MUFON database in that period of time. And that's, I think, key to point out too. These aren't the number of sightings that happened. These are the numbers of sightings that were reported to us. So you can assume that there was a lot more sightings. So you go, wow, why did the United States get so many more than all the rest of the world? Well, these are just the ones that were reported to us. Now you realize in those other countries, they may not have internet access. They may not even have heard of MUFON. They might not have sometimes with our website, a lot of it's in English. That might turn people off if they don't speak the language. So even though 420 came into our database, there was probably a lot more happening around the world. So. And what happened in the United States? So California had 36, Florida had 34, Arizona had 22, Texas had 21, Minnesota had 17. We're in the top 5 this month. We're never in the top 5. We're usually around so 17, our average number of cases per month is about 6 to 8. That's what's common for us. But yeah, there's a couple reasons. So one reason we had for the 17 is for a couple months, I guess there was some trouble with our CMS website. So people were trying to submit cases to us and they couldn't. That's why the past couple of months our cases were down. Now that's been fixed. So I think some people who've been trying to get cases in got cases in. So that jumped up our numbers too. And we did have one witness who submitted several cases. So combination of the website being down, people submitting past sightings, and then one person submitting multiple sightings, that kind of like bumped our number up. So because if you look, Wisconsin has 8. We're usually right around Wisconsin's level. So that's where we normally are. 6 to 8 is common. The last time we're up like this around in the upper teens was when Starlink launched, and we were getting a lot of Starlink reports. So yeah, no, but we know what Starlink is now, and then once we realized that the sightings and educated the public, the sightings dropped down. So, and the MUFON shapes recorded in from that David time: 67 circles, 63 spheres, 39 others, 29 starlight. We had 2 diamonds, 1 teardrop, 1 egg, and 1 chevron. And we had the egg. We had the egg, and we might have had the chevron too. We definitely had the egg. So and we had one of the diamonds. So interesting stuff. So, all right, now let's look at one of my favorite slides. The distance stats. So 64 reports were from under 100 feet away. 49 were from 101 to 500 feet away. 66 were from 501 feet to a mile away. And 59 were unknown value, and 21 they just didn't have any value at all. And we took reports for 21 landings, hoverings, or takeoffs, and 31 entities observed. And I always love seeing the entities observed because and actually that's getting closer to normal again, because when I first started tracking this stuff, the number of entities we were seeing every month was about the mid-teens. About 16 to 18 was pretty common. But the past few years, the average number of entities, I'd say, was in the mid-30s. But then we had our database issue last year, and all of our cases went down. So everything went down, and people weren't even reporting to us because they couldn't find us, and they're getting frustrated with that. But now that our database is back online, crossing fingers, our sightings are going back up, and our entities being observed are going back up too. And again, I'd emphasize this: 31 entities observed. Again, that's what's been reported to us. That doesn't include all the ones people who've seen entities and haven't reported to us. So that number is probably a lot bigger, or it's hard to say, but it's probably significantly bigger than 31. So it's interesting that there's all this stuff happening, and you don't hear about it normally on your news. You don't hear it on the radio. It's not normally talked about, but it's definitely out there and it's definitely happening. So. Yeah, so behind the scenes, let's go back to behind the scenes. So
Yeah.
we meet on the second Saturday of every month. We start off with social time around 1 o'clock, and then I try to make sure the room's open by the Zoom room's open by 1:30. Meetings may or may not be hybrid. We're hoping to have an in-person meeting in the next few months because I got a special speaker I'm working on. If we can get him in, we're going to do an in-person meeting. But I also got to kind of coordinate with Jan to get that set up. But right now we're going transitioning to online meetings only for a while. But so watch your emails. Watch your emails, watch our Facebook page, watch our meetup. You'll see announcements on what's happening. We usually don't start the formal meeting before 2, but if there's a lot of data or a lot of stuff to cover, we may start before 2. So watch your email blast, watch Facebook, watch meetup. So, and if you're not on our email list, shoot Ivor a little text in the chat and give him your email, and Ivor will help get you on the email list for that. So I should introduce everybody. So like I said, I'm Tom Maher. My assistant state director, I don't think he's here with us today, but is Jared Nelson, the guy who does the Northland MUFON website. He also does our YouTube page. He's our director of communications. So yeah, Jared just does so much for us and for Northland MUFON. So give a big round of applause to him. Linda Folkerts-Maleka, she's our current chief investigator, and Bill McNeff, he is our current secretary, and he's also supporting Linda as chief investigator. And Bill's just got such a long history with Minnesota MUFON. He was chief investigator for a while. He's just, he's our legendary rock star. And Jan Swenson, our treasurer, like I said, she's with MarsCon this weekend. So, and of course, our membership director, the guy I'm leaning on today, Ivor Matz. Give Ivor a big round of applause. Ivor's relatively new to the board. He's been with us for a number of months, and we're so happy to have him on board. He's done such a great job for us. And we are looking for a programming coordinator. So today's meeting, we're going to have What's Up in Minnesota, and there's a lot of stuff this month. So, and then we're going to have Colorado MUFON State Director Seth Feinstein presenting to us. That's very cool. He's going to present on the Pikes Peak Monster and other anomalies. So I met Seth a number of years ago. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, and then in April we've got MUFON's Director of International Investigations. Now I said Steve Hudgens is our Director of Director of Investigations. Bob Spearing is the Director of International Investigations, so the ones across the seas and that. So Bob Spearing is going to be here talking to us. And like I said, I'm working on some other stuff. We've locked in Debbie Ziegelmeyer. She's our annual December presenter. If you were here last December and saw her presentation, we got so much great feedback on that. I said let's have Debbie come and present every December, like a kind of a year-end finale gala kind of stuff. And we threw that out to her. She was very honored and flattered, and she accepted. So in December, we're gonna have Debbie Ziegelmeyer here. And in case you're here for the first time, Debbie is the head of MUFON's dive team. MUFON is a dive team. She heads up the dive team, so she will like works on a lot of our underwater UFO sightings and investigations and stuff. So that's very cool. So, um, and I mentioned Jared works on our YouTube channel. So our YouTube channel, go look. Like I said, look for MN MUFON. I think for YouTube, we currently have over 1,740 subscribers, which is great. We've currently got 71 videos on there. We had less last month, so Jared's working on getting the videos out there. We've got videos from when they were here in Minnesota in person. Paula Harris, I think two different Paula Harris videos. Ken Storch, you may have seen Ken Storch on like Ancient Aliens or some of those other shows. Sherry Wild, Ted Phillips, Grant Cameron's presentations. Um, Minnesota MUFON members Joe Swenson and like I said, Craig Lang, who's passed away. We had an experiencer panel a number of years back. Our experiencer panel's online. You can see what's up in Minnesota and lots of other stuff. So find our YouTube channel and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So now we're on to what's up in Minnesota. I'm gonna check our time. Check our time. We got 2:35. So yeah, we got a lot to cover. So again, this is from February 8th, the date of our last meeting, through yesterday. So February 8th through yesterday. So let's see what we got going on. We're gonna start with updates, which we don't have a lot of updates, but we got a lot of new cases to cover. So and a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. So our updates. We have one case to update you on, case number 139561-U. And so this is a case I showed you before, which wasn't completed. Since then, it's been completed. Now I'm going to show you the conclusion of that. So, and the -U, those are like little qualifiers. There's 3 or 4 different ones that MUFON uses. U is for unidentified flying object or for UFO. So this took place on November 5th of 2024. A rectangle was seen in Moorhead. They were fishing with their friend and decided to walk because it was getting dark. Walked to the trail and stopped for a short break. We were both looking in the sky and saw whatever it was. Thought it was sky blue, but you could see other colors. Tried to record it. And Anna was working on this. She has now completed it. So let's see what Anna has turned up on this one. So she completed it, insufficient data. So she says, I was unable to interview this witness. Although he responded to emails on 2 occasions, we could not confirm an exact date or time. He did not answer the phone or return calls. Because the day and time is approximate, and I'm not certain of the location, I have no choice but to close this case with a disposition of insufficient data. Should the witness contact this investigator, I'd be happy to reopen the case. Anna Scott, North Dakota State Director and Minnesota MUFON Field Investigator. So that's actually classic. That's like textbook. When you can't establish the day and time, that's a huge thing. So and when you can't do the interviews are so important. So yeah, I would say insufficient data is absolutely correct on that. It's another good example, even though the case is completed, if we get more information, we can always reopen it again and change stuff, and we can change the disposition to something else. So it's a great example of that. So if they contact Anna again and give her more information, she may change that from insufficient data to something else. So thank you, Anna, for your work on that case. Now, the new cases, because let's get into the overview of new cases. So new cases. So we had 17 cases submitted this past month. Like I said, submission date range was February 8th through yesterday. The date range of the sightings were interesting because from June 6th of 1975 all the way up to March 1st of this year. One interesting thing was there's one on June 6th of 75, and there was another one from August 6th of 75. So 2 from 1975. Not going to show you both of them, but I'll show you one of them. And then we had another one from 87. So we had some historical cases in there, which is kind of cool. I like when we get some of those older cases in. So no cases of interest. So a case of interest is when a report comes to MUFON. Headquarters looks at it first before they send it to the states, and if headquarters thinks, hey, this might really be something, they mark it as a case of interest. And we didn't have any of those this month. We had 5 ERT cases. So an ERT case is kind of a special case, and we allow more anonymity to ERT cases. So I can't tell you really anything about them. So even though we had 17 cases submitted, I can't show you anything about those 5. And I think the August 8th 75 is one of those 5. So I'm going to show you 12 cases, 12 new cases today. So as far as the new cases, we're seeing we got 6 circles, 1 oval, 1 diamond. There's our diamond. 1 egg. I said we had 3 others, 1 NA, 1 was star-like, and 3 had nothing listed. So, and this was interesting too. If you look at our valet classifications, we had 6 AN1s and AN. Oh, I was going to grab my paperwork on that because I want to tell you what these things are. The AN1, that's an anomaly of the first kind. And MUFON defines an anomaly of the first kind as anomalies that do not have lasting physical effects, such as amorphous lights or unexplained explosions. And then we had three CE1s, close encounter of the first kind, one CE2, close encounter of the second kind, one CE3, close encounter of the third kind, two CE4s, close encounter of the fourth kind, one CE5, close encounter of the fifth kind, and three MA1s, a maneuver of the first kind. So what's interesting there is I've never seen a month where we've had one, two, three, four, and five all of the same category. So we've had, for the close encounters, we've had one, two, three, four, and five. That's really unusual. So I'm going to define all of those for you. I'm going to start with the maneuver though, too. We had three maneuvers of the first kind. So MUFON defines a maneuver of the first kind as UFO observations that involve an object with a discontinuous trajectory, such as a drop, a maneuver, or a loop. So those are MA1s, maneuver of the first kind. So there was three of those submitted. But now our CEs, that's just, I'm so surprised that we got one of each of the five. So a close encounter of the first kind is the class of objects seen on the ground or at a short distance to the observer. So a close encounter of the second kind, it's the class of close encounters in which physical effects or traces were present. Now we've got something physical evidence involved. Close encounter of the third kind, and yes, that's where the movie got its name. Movie got its name from this valet classification. We define that as a class of close encounters that involve entities or occupants. If you saw the movie, the entities came down, so there's entities present, so that's a close encounter of the third kind. CE4, a close encounter of the fourth kind, encompasses the abduction reports in which the witness has not only seen the occupants, but claims to have extensively interacted with them inside their craft. So these are abduction cases. And we had we had two CE4s, one close encounter of the fifth kind. And MUFON defines a close encounter of the fifth kind as encompasses cases of close encounters in which the witnesses have suffered permanent injuries or other physiological effects, including death. So, and CE5 is kind of a hip term. There's a lot of other organizations have adopted the term CE5. I know of at least two others that use it, and their definitions are different from ours. So we're the originators. We have I don't know if we can claim we have the actual definition, but I know of at least two other organizations that reference the CE5. But we've got four categories and five levels, so that's what we established. So they're kind of stealing our CE5 title for that there, which is fine. They can do whatever they choose. And one thing else that I noticed for these valet classifications, there's not a single FB1 this month. So FB stands for flyby. And I find that interesting because MUFON defines an FB1 as simply a sighting of a UFO flying by in the sky. It's the category most frequently reported. Most categories is an FB1. And there's no FB1s this month. So I thought that was interesting too. So lots of little interesting things on how things showed up this month. So, and unfortunately, I said we've got one for each of the CE levels. Because there's 5 ERT cases, some of those are ERT cases. So I'm not going to show you all of them, but I will show you the 12 cases that I'm allowed to show you. So I should just stop talking about it and I should just show you. Case number 141066-U took place on November 19th of 2024 at 1:36 a.m. Shape was an other. Classification was CE1, close encounter of the first kind. Took place in Clements, which is in Redwood County. The short description was some kind of anomaly in my backyard. And the detailed description says, I happened to look at the live view on my camera and saw this. Not sure what's going on here, but I recorded a few of these videos, went to a window and couldn't see anything with my eyes. That's a key point right there. Couldn't see anything with my eyes. That's going to come up a number of times. It was investigated by Jamie Flood. Jamie's on our call today, so thank you, Jamie. And Bill McNeff. It's completed. There was 2 videos attached. So when I said one witness submitted a lot of videos this month, this is the witness that did that. And she submitted a lot of videos. So she submitted a lot of videos. So some of them are very similar. Some of them have little interesting little nuances and stuff. But yeah, so whenever I show you a case that says Clemens, Redwood County, it's the same person. And you'll be able to tell too, because in some of the videos, you're like, oh, this is the same backyard. I can tell the same thing. So, and sometimes when we have cases, I ask the field investigators who are on board if they'd like to comment on them. So after we kind of get through all of these, since Jamie is working all the cases with this one witness, I'm going to ask Jamie if you don't have to, Jamie, but if you'd like to, I'll give you a comment if you'd like to speak on any comments you might have on the cases or what it's like working with a witness or whatnot. So we've got 2 attached videos. I'm going to show you I'll show you these 2. So I think if I go to the next slide, yeah, so let's go to the videos. So this one's relatively short. This is 8 seconds, so we'll show you the whole thing. And I think what she's noticing is this really bright dot here. I believe that moving across from left to right, I believe that's an emergency vehicle. That's my guess. But I think she's referring to this bright dot here on the ground. So that's what I think she's referring to. So we'll just finish out that one. So that's another short one. So, and I'm not sure if she's talking. You can see that's the same location with that big tanker there. Not sure what that big object is, but this is actually a video. It's not a still shot. This is actually video playing. So that is a still shot. So that is the two for that case. We completed this one, disposition IFO man-made object. So here's what Jamie and Bill came up with. Reviewed two videos submitted by a witness of what she believes to be an anomaly in her backyard captured by surveillance video. Again, she didn't see it herself. So this appears to be a lens flare originating from exterior lighting. That dot on the ground looks like a lens flare, exacerbated by condensation on the lens, so foggy lens, and light shining through a foggy atmosphere. The timestamps on the November 19, 2024 video submitted by the witness were 1:36 and 2:14. According to the nearby weather station in Redwood Falls, there's a light rain between the hours of midnight and 1 o'clock. Temperature is 51 degrees Fahrenheit, and at midnight increased to 55 degrees by 2:30. Humidity at midnight to 2:30 ranged from 94 to 95%. And I didn't include the weather data, but thank you, Jamie, for providing the weather data. That's fantastic. So she emailed the witness the findings, and she's had no response to that date. So next case number, come on. Case number 141069-U took place on November 13th, 2024 at 5:10 a.m. Circle was seen, AN1, so anomaly of the first kind, in Clements. So we're got the same witness. Camera caught two UFOs, detailed description. My camera caught four UFOs hovering and then they slowly disappeared. No sound was detected. Couldn't see them with my eyes. Jamie investigated that one. She completed it too. I just want to check real quick. Okay, that's right. Okay, two attached videos. So I'm going to show you those two videos. Oh, I thought I had these all in here. Well, you know what? She's got so many videos that she submitted. I'm just going to kind of run through some of them. And I don't think this is the one for that case, but you got an idea. This one we haven't looked at yet. So let's play this one. Again, now this is actually a video running. It looks like a still shot. You can kind of see on the right, that light's kind of getting brighter and dimmer, kind of flashing on and off. I don't know if that's what the witness is referring to, but obviously that big glare in the photo, that's obvious. Probably thinking some of that. Again, she's not seeing this directly. She's getting this on her surveillance camera. So she's not, and that's one thing too. With a lot of these cases, when the person isn't seeing it directly, a lot of times we have to disclose it as unknown other or information only, because the problem is this was taken by a camera and we can't interview a camera. We need to interview a person. So there's not really actually a witness to the event. There's a witness to a video that was taken of the event, but not the event itself. So let's go back here. And as you can see, there's a couple more like this. I'll show you this one too. Yeah, kind of the same deal. This is the tank I mentioned, the other one. You couldn't see it as well in this one, but you can see it better here. And that light's kind of getting brighter and dimmer. I'm guessing, yeah, so a lot of the videos look a lot like this. So that's why I'm probably not going to show you all of them, because she sent us so many videos, which is great. And this video is like over 2 minutes long. So I don't know that we're going to, one of them did have something kind of interesting. I don't know if it was this one or not. It had something kind of fly through, but I'm guessing whatever flew through it could have been a bird, probably a bug, but it flies through this area and kind of goes up and kind of disappears. So, and I'm going to go back here. Let's see. So, and I'll show you maybe just one more from this case, because there's yeah, she has some that are a few like this. I think it's this flashing light that she's talking about, but I was hoping these would be a little bit better organized than that, but they're not. So this is only a 6-second video. I'll show that to you again real quick. I think she's looking at that one light over the horizon there. This is good because you've got like that, I don't know if it's a street and you've got that sign, so we could actually identify where this is exactly if we had to. So two attached videos, and this one, completed IFO man-made object. So the witness submitted two videos likely taken by surveillance camera of her backyard. She believes that UFOs were captured. There's several street lights, some causing lens flares. There's also a substance which is irregularly blowing through the field of view, unable to positively identify, but could be snow, sleet, rain, seedlings, bugs, etc. Beginning timestamps on the November 13th video was 5:10:27 and 5:10:33. That's AM. A portion of the videos from 5:10 and 5:10 is showing duplicative footage. So weather was windy, gusts up to 19 miles per hour, 89% humidity. I believe that two UFOs the witness saw were lens flares caused by the close streetlight, which was exacerbated by weather conditions. And again, I didn't attach the weather data, but she emailed the witness with findings and no response received to date. So, and now case number 141070-U took place on September 2nd, 2024 at 4:35 p.m. Starlink was seen, AN1 anomaly of the first kind. Clements again in Redwood, so we get the same witness. Looks similar to Starlink. So that's interesting. It looks similar to Starlink. So the witness knows what Starlink looks like. I was outside looking at the sky following an orb that was gliding by, and in an instant, these lights just appeared. They didn't move at all, no sound, but I felt electrical. I'm sure the adrenaline played a part, but I felt like electricity was running through and around me. My hair stood up. I recorded it for 2 minutes before it slowly disappeared, a few lights at a time. It never moved. There's a bale of hay in the video for reference that it did not fly in and fly away like other Starlink does. So Jamie Flood and Bill McNeff, it's in progress. There's one video for this one, and I'm going to see if I get the right one, but yeah, it's interesting. It's a little different from the other ones, but so let's go back to. And remember, F-bomb alert, so just in case you're sensitive. So see, that does look like a very typical Starlink. So that whole line of, there's F-bomb 1. Next one's coming.
Goosebumps from my head to my feet. What the is this?
And it definitely has a Starlink look to it. What, and she says that she,
Electric running through my body.
and you can kind of see the bale of hay down here toward the bottom. So there's that. So you can kind of reference, we could reference that if we had to.
Oh,
And the thing that's important to remember about Starlink, even if you've seen it, it can look very different because sometimes the dots are very bright and big and they're farther apart and they're going by really fast. Sometimes they're much closer together and they're going very slow like this because they're at different altitudes. So this looks like Starlink, but much, much, much higher. And sometimes they're not even in a line. Sometimes they're in clusters. So, I believe this is Starlink, but Jamie is on this one. Jamie's talked to this person. We'll see what Jamie comes up, but I strongly suspect that it is Starlink and if you've been with us the past few months, we've had a number of witnesses submit reports going, I know what Starlink is, and this is not Starlink. And it actually is because Starlink can look very different depending on what launch it is and stuff like that. So, yeah, so I'm guessing that's going on there. But, so that's in progress. So Bill and Jamie are working on that. So, when that one's completed, we'll revisit this one. We'll tell you what Bill and Jamie came up with. So, and our next case is number 141083-U, took place on June 6th of 1975. So here's one of those old ones. The egg we were talking about. Classification CE1, so a close encounter of the first kind in Barnesville, which is in Clay County. I saw this object 50 years ago, and I want to tell someone before I pass away. And that's not uncommon. We don't hear it all the time, but that's not an uncommon thing. People are getting close to death and like, I need to let somebody know. I observed an egg-shaped object in broad daylight. It came from the east and hovered across the street from where I was. It stayed there for a couple of minutes and went back up and east. It was egg-shaped and had a band of writing across the middle. I could not read. The writing was more like symbol. We've heard that before too. There's writing, but it's not like English or anything they recognize. This is an event I think about now and then, and I want to tell someone before I'm not able to. I don't have any evidence, but I remember it very well. Would like someone to call me so I can talk about what I saw. So Anna was on this. She completed it already. So let's see what Anna had to say. So completed information only. So writer confirmed that witness lives at address. He states he grew up in the house and later purchased it from his parents. States is not aware of any neighbors that may still reside in the area, but plans to reach out to his friend to see if he has any more information to provide. He does not think it is likely his friend will be helpful. Per Google Maps, a small park with skating rink is located where the witness reported it to be. An area would have been visible from the front yard. Unfortunately, he does not recall a specific year, month, or day. So unfortunately, an investigation at this time is not feasible. I was unable to find any additional cases where the reports included a craft with similar characteristics in our CMS or New Forks database during the summer months of 73 to 76. So she actually searched for a number of years, which is really good. Within the USA, so due to date unknown. I'm closing the case with the disposition of information only, but will reopen should additional information become available. Anna Scott, South Dakota, field investigator ID in February 16th of this year. So another really good case. Again, could be opened again, but don't have a specific date, don't have a specific year. Those make it really hard to come to a real conclusion. So we kind of have to call it information only because we don't have much more than the information. It's important. It's important that we have the information that the sighting reported, but without specifics that we really nail down and do good research on, it really leaves us for information only. So thank you very much, Anna, for that. Your work on that one. We appreciate that. Case number 141086-U took place on January 21st of this year at 3 a.m. Other AN1, so anomaly of the first kind, in Clements, Redwood County. So again, we've got our witness again. Her short description, all she said was anomaly. And she said this anomaly was being caught on my outside camera, and I had no idea what it is. Jamie and Bill worked on it. They've already completed it, and she submitted 4 videos with this. So let's take a look at this video, and notice there's a dog here. So we've got the dog. And notice there's that dot by the dog too, up above to the dog. And that showed up in one of our other ones too. That same dot was there. So, and notice the dog didn't pay any attention to that dot. So see, the dog walks right by it and doesn't even look at it. So,
Right.
and let's see if we can get the other one. Here's another one. Same event. So there's that same dot again. We don't see the dog in this one. I don't know if we see anything else moving. So that one's over with. I think there was 4 videos. So let's see. Okay, go. Okay, here's one. So again, so now we've got another vehicle. Remember I said that other one looked like emergency vehicle? I think that's an emergency vehicle. Pretty safe bet on that. But there's that same dot there. So
Tom, if you notice, when the emergency vehicle went by, we had lens flares that tracked the emergency vehicle.
yeah,
And this
yeah,
dot here, which is stationary, appears to be a lens flare from the street light, which is
right.
stationary.
And now if the screen is solid, you can actually kind of see that it's an emergency vehicle. So yeah, so that's what we're looking at. So Ivor's not even a field investigator, and Ivor came up with that. So let's see what our actual field investigator said on that one. So let's take a look at them. Because of course, like I said, Bill and Jamie worked on that. The completed IFO man-made object. So the witness reported an anomaly that was captured in video taken by her outside surveillance camera. Again, no eyewitness. The witness submitted 4 videos with date stamps on January 1st. First 2 videos stamped 309. Shows a lens flare caused by that near street light. So a little black dog also seen walking in the yard in these videos, unaffected as it was not seen, but didn't seem to see the lens flare, which it can't. A lens flare is actually happening inside the camera. It's from a very bright light source that's either it's either in the field of view or just outside the field of view of the camera. It gets in the lens, it kind of bounces around and flares up a little bit. And if that light is stationary, the flare will be stationary too. So that's what's happening there. So the dog couldn't see it because the dog can't see inside the camera. It appears to be snow or some substance blowing across the video frame. Third video shows a lens flare caused by the near street light. Final video, lens flare caused by the near street light. Additionally, a car can be seen driving through left side of the video. Additional lens flaring. The light from an airplane can be seen traveling from right side of the sky, and occasional snow or other substance. The cause of the anomaly observed by the witness in each of these videos is lens flaring out of the near street light. Also appears to be washed out pixels from oversaturation of a bright street light. That one big octopus looking one we saw earlier, I'm pretty convinced that the pixels on the camera were simply just overloading, and that's what was happening there. Emailed findings to witness, no response received as of time of case closing. So let's go to case number 141124-U. Took place on November 8th of 2024 at midnight. A diamond was seen in MA1 in Britt, which is in Lewis County. So a different witness this time. And this one's interesting too. His short description was contact me if further information is needed. His detailed description, contact me if you want further information. That's all he said in both the short and the long descriptions. Steve Hero was working on that one. He completed it. Let's see what Steve found out. Completed information only. So Steve contacted the witness. It was hard to get information from the witness, and some of the answers were very vague. Also, he wasn't sure the date this has happened. So there's, as you can understand, when that's the actual text they submitted, there's not much to go on. And if you interview them and can't get information out of them, there's just not a lot to go on. So information only is what the best we can do with it. So thank you, Steve, for your work on that. We certainly appreciate it. Case number 141181-U took place on February 10th of this year at 5:45. A circle was seen at AN1, so anomaly of the first kind in Hermanton, which is in St. Louis County. 4 lights hovering. Again, so we're in Hermantown, so we're not that same witness, but she's got more coming in. 4 lights hovering. My wife was traveling south on Highway 53 when she spotted lights hovering behind and over the Pike Lake Holiday gas station. She was driving, was able to take a couple of pictures with her phone. First was about 3/4 of a mile from the gas station. The second was less than a quarter mile. We drive this road on a daily basis and have never seen anything like this. They did not seem to change position in the whole time she was viewing them. I've seen SpaceX satellites, and this did not look like them. So we've said we hear that occasionally. They were too low to the ground and too large. I do not know that. I do know there's an airport and the 148th Fighter Wing Base, but that would be a little more southwest of where these lights were. Steve Hero worked on it. He completed it. I'm going to show you the 2 pictures. And so there's the bright light up here. Then there's these string of lights over here too. So, and then we've got the next photograph. We got the same 3 lights and then this one over here. So Steve completed it. Let's see what Steve had to say. Completed information only. So starting with a large light in the upper left of the photo 7207, that appears to be the moon. And according to timeanddate.com, directly behind the holiday station and only a few miles away is the Duluth International Airport. This prompted me to check Flight Radar 24 to see if there were any planes in the area at that time, which there were not. So that eliminates any type of aircraft. The white light to the right looks like it's actually a street lamp, which was discovered by enlarging the photo. So he blew it up and took a look. The 3 anomalous lights above the station are so far undetermined, and I did not investigate further since this information is only case. So that's what Steve came up with on that one. So thank you so much, Steve, for your work on that case. Case number 141258-U took place on February 25th of this year at 2:02 a.m. A circle was seen, classification AN1 in Clements. So we've got that same witness again. Strange lights, anomaly, orbs, and UAPs. So she said, checked my live view camera. Again, now she's not seeing it herself. She's checking her video camera at 2 a.m. Saw the strange big bright light anomaly by street lights was there. Went outside and couldn't see anything. Camera gets it. Eyewitness can't see anything. So that's another clue that we would look for. I did see my regular orbs. UAPs were extra active, so I recorded a few with my phone. Meanwhile, I kept checking my live view, and I noticed this anomaly was changing shape, but I couldn't see it with my eyes. Camera's picking up one thing, the eyes are seeing something else. The video at 3:02, I watched it all the way through and didn't notice much. Then I scrolled down the bar to make it go faster and noticed multiple UAPs flying toward the anomaly. Interesting that when it's going faster, she sees stuff. So this is assigned to me, and actually we're getting close to the end because I know before they get assigned to field investigators, they get assigned to state directors, and so that's why it's assigned to me. She submitted 8 videos for this one. I don't know, I want to show you all of them because a lot of them are very similar, but we'll take a look at a few of them. But since we got our speaker here, I kind of want to get through these though. Put in the chat so Ivor can let me know. Put in the chat if you want to continue to see more of her videos because they're very similar, and we don't think they're actual extraterrestrial craft. And Ivor, let me know if they don't want to see the videos, because then if they don't want any of them, I can just stop it. We can take a break and we'll come back for Seth. So put in the chat if you want me to skip the videos, but for now I'll start showing them to you until Ivor lets me know. Yeah, so that's that big one. That's file number 2. And I'm going to stop this and go back. Here's file number 3. And you're seeing that, I take it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so a lot of it's just the same kind of visual stuff. And notice how when it's not raining and stuff, the images there are much more clear as opposed to when it was rainy and foggy.
Mm.
Again, we got that same lens flare and that same bright subject that's creating that lens flare. So file number 4. Again, a lot of these are very similar. There's our squad car again. So I'm going to stop this one and go back. See what file number 6 has. So there's these lights again. And they're little and that was only 6 seconds long. So, okay, so there were 8 of those. So because it's the same witness, Jamie, like it or not, I think this one's going to come your way and the reason for that is not to overload Jamie with all these cases, but Jamie's been in touch with this witness. She's built the relationship. She's got the foundation. She has a feeling for what this witness is like. So, and that's not uncommon. We get multiple cases from the same witness. We will tend to send them to the same field investigator because imagine as a witness, now you've got, say you submitted a lot of cases. Now you've got all these different people from MUFON calling you. We are eliminating that. We're having one person from MUFON contacting them. So it kind of helps the witness, kind of overloads the field investigator. So Jamie, my apologies. So case number 141291-U again. Oh, this is a different one. A circle was seen on February 19th, CE1 close encounter of the first kind in Skyline, which is in Blue Earth County. Ball of light. I live on a hill at the edge of town. 2 of us both saw a big bright orb suddenly appear several feet above the tree line in the eastern sky. It hovered and then descended in the shape of an arc, not a straight line. The object suddenly disappeared right above the tree line. A couple of planes went by at a much higher altitude over the next 2 hours. This orb had no other lights and didn't have a trail like a meteor or comet. We heard the planes, but no noise from the orb. So this was assigned to me. It'll probably get assigned to somebody else. Probably not Jamie. Jamie will give you a break on this one, but another field investigator. When this one's closed, I'll show it to you in a future meeting, and we'll find out what is happening on that with that one. And case number 141314-U took place on March 1st of this year at 3 a.m. Circle was seen. Maneuver of the first kind in Clements. So we've got the same witness again. She probably submitted like 6 or 8 cases this month. So Orbs UAPs, her short description was these Orbs UAPs come in independently and seem to gather in the same general area. They glide and disappear. This is a regular occurrence, and they seem to come around the same time almost every morning between 3 and 4 a.m. And that's another key point too. When you get the same type of anomaly or sighting happening at the same time every day, when I hear that, I immediately think there's something man-made or something, human involved, or something natural and regular, because UFOs, extraterrestrial craft, they just don't keep a regular schedule like that. So there's 10 videos. There is one that's kind of interesting because it does show a car going by, but the lights from the car. But yeah, so I accept that because we got our speaker here, so I really want to, and we're almost done now too. So moving on to case number 141331-U took place on December 6, 2024. An oval was seen in Rice Lake, which is in St. Louis County. AN1 is an anomaly of the first kind. Glowing large orange oval viewed for 10 minutes plus. Disappeared shortly after picture taken. Viewed object for 10 minutes, pulled car over, and we had a clear view. Took picture of it, and it disappeared within 10 seconds. Drove for about 5 miles and never happened. Assigned to me. There's 2 pictures attached. I'll show you the 2 pictures. And then this will probably get assigned to someone else too, but not Jamie. So here's the one. Again, this happens a lot. You've got a black background and a light, and there's not a lot we can do with that. But it is evidence of some sort. So, and then they zoomed in on it. So in here you can almost see like a structure of a craft, but you kind of go, is that a structure of a craft, or is that pixels that are like getting overloaded again? So really hard to tell what that is. So we will get that assigned to a field investigator. When it's completed, we'll revisit that again. And I think this is our last case, 141337-U, February 28th. A circle was seen in Clements again, so our same witness, MA1 maneuver of the first kind. These lights have been going on for a while now. I haven't seen them much closer than this, but they are in the same areas regularly, various times in 2 to 3 a.m. and 6 to 7 a.m. They turn on and off randomly, go from a tiny speck to a massive bright light and glowing ball of light. I've watched them with binoculars and can't see past the light, but when they're off, there's nothing. There's no car, no anything can be emitting light. They are near the same area. I regularly see my UAPs in the sky. I'm wondering if they're the same thing. So now the witness, I think, is starting to put things together. I think she's starting to come to the realization that it's probably not something extraterrestrial, but it's assigned to Jamie. You're probably going to get this one, but we're going to pass on the videos, and that's what's up in Minnesota. And I'm going to unshare. Today's speaker is Seth Feinstein. Seth is presenting on the Pikes Peak Monster and other anomalies. So Seth Feinstein grew up in a family of artists. His uncle was a professional fashion designer, and his father did sculptures and paintings. Now he works out of his own art studio doing custom gun stock carvings. His love of working with wood led him to learn how to do lathe and making large foot knockers. Having worked with pottery for over 30 years, he now has 4 kilns and a large raku oven for his Japanese-style pottery. Seth is also on the board of Colorado Cowboys, which is a single-action shooting society club. Seth participates in local, regional, and state competitions. Besides his art, Feinstein and his wife, Anniversary, who's also a field investigator, are members of and certified field investigators with the Mutual UFO Network, where they investigate UFO sightings and collect data in the MUFON database for use by researchers worldwide. Seth is a prominent member of the MUFON photo analysis team. I first met Seth and I crossed paths a number of years ago at the MUFON Symposium. And then we actually crossed paths again at the Star Wars USA. And he said, "Oh, I know you from the symposium." So we got to chatting and stuff, and him and his wife, and just great people. So every year I go to the symposium. Seth is always there. Always good to catch up with him and chat with him. Him and his wife just big supporters of MUFON. Seth is a state director, and boy, his wife, I think, is state director for like 5 different states or so, a lot of different states. So
10 states.
10 states, okay.
Well, yeah, she's the CAG director, so
Don't tell her I shorted her any states, though. I don't want her mad at me. So they just do, or they're so involved, and it's such a privilege to have them here presenting for us today. So please, Minnesota MUFON, give a big Minnesota MUFON welcome to Seth Feinstein. And Seth, take it away.
hello, Minnesota MUFON. It's a pleasure to be here to be with you today. And so a good day for myself and my wife is 4 to 5 hours of MUFON. And a bad day is 8 to 10 hours of MUFON. We are totally engrossed in doing the MUFON mission to benefit the world and make the world a better place. with UFO investigations. My wife is the CAG director. Her name is Anniversary. It's not her anniversary, that's her name. And my name is Seth, and I'm also the Northwest Regional Director, as well as the Colorado State Director. But my most favorite thing of all is photo analysis. And because, as you know, I'm an art person, and my actual degree is in photography and filmmaking. And I spent my whole working career doing none of that. And now I analyze videos and images for UFOs, trying to authenticate and identify them. I've done over 350 different photo analysis over the last 4 years. Most of them for MUFON cases, but people outside of MUFON come to me for work too. And that really is the photo analysis is really what drives me to be very happy as a MUFON person. So what we have in our Colorado MUFON is that today is our state meeting, and we have Mike Cleland is speaking on his contact and experiences, and Al's in the other room. We have 65 visitors in the room hearing his speech. And at the very beginning of each speaker event we have, I do a short presentation, 20 to 30-minute presentation of cases of interest, and also weird news. And so what I've got is this month and last month's presentations coming up. So I'm going to pull it up and share my screen. So a very important event occurred. The News Nation exclusive. Have all of you seen this Russ Coulthard News Nation egg video retrieval? This is a very important story because there's a new whistleblower, the ultimate whistleblower, Jake Barber, and the story was broken by News Nation. And I'll play a little bit of this.
UAP craft retrieval program. This extraordinary footage clearly shows an egg-shaped object dangling in a sling below the belly of the helicopter. Slow this down to take a closer look. That's an egg-shaped UAP suspended from a 150-foot long line. We're told the craft is about 20 feet long. The egg suspended in a cradle. And look how careful the pilot is as they bring their precious cargo into land. Let's freeze frame here to look at one of the clearest images of a UAP ever taken. This is no blurry light in a distant sky. The source of the footage putting themselves at incredible risk to record this UAP retrieval. Look at how perfectly smooth the craft is. No markings at all, and no visible means of propulsion or way to see inside. Watch how it rolls, almost graceful as it hits the ground, despite being wrapped in the ropes and canvas from the cradle as it's dropped for pickup. The UAP's final destination still unknown.
Okay. Now, Robert Spearing, our DOII, asked his college buddy, the mathematical genius, to do measurements. And the width and length ratio for the UFO is 77.8%. A quail egg is 77.1%. That is really close to a bird egg shape. A chicken egg is 71%. David Toon, field investigator of Florida. As a former Army helicopter pilot, I can say without a doubt, this video did not involve a helicopter. I estimate the distance between the egg and the helicopter to be approximately 100 feet. Any cargo helicopter, including UH-1 Huey, UH-60 Blackhawk, CH-47 Chinook would have a significant rotor wash to disturb the cable with visible cable waves and rocking motion. Matt Kellison, our Florida State Director. Oops, spelled Florida wrong there. Fix that spelling. I agree with David. I did a lot of vert trips in the Coast Guard, both as an air crew and a ground crew on MH-65 and 60s, MH-60s. Even on the smaller helicopters, the rotor wash is ridiculous, even at 150 feet. There are so many unanswered questions, like what type of airframe was Jake Barber supposedly flying? His DD-214 is also pretty sparse and shows he still has some enlisted when he separated. So where did he go for flight training? Also curious how much this thing supposedly weighs. Actually, Jake Barber in another interview said it weighed less than 5,000 pounds. That was the capacity of his helicopter. You'd think that would have come up to the interview, since it's probably the single most important thing to know when doing a sling load at night. And why not show the cargo release? The whole thing smells fishy. I do have one interesting thought about the shadow that might provide some new analysis in the future, especially checking for AI generated videos. I don't think the egg video is clear enough for this to help, but I just wanted to share what I'm thinking for future images and videos as just one more tool to consider when a situation is appropriate. The sun disk is half a degree wide, and the way it works is the light from all the surfaces of the sun's spherical surface are just as bright as all the other points. This means that the edges of the shadows from the sun are never perfectly sharp. They are blurry depending on several factors. The blurriness extends in a triangular way, such that the further the object, the fuzzier the edges of the shadow. We don't notice or think about this normally, but this fact can help with photo analysis. If the egg video were clearer, we would make sure the shadow got fuzzier when the egg was further from the ground. And if it doesn't, then it might be AI generated. John Craig, he's a Colorado MUFON scientist here in Colorado. What he's stating is, well, first, the shadow doesn't move correctly, as would be the case of the egg. As the egg moves and comes to the ground, the shadow is not moving the way it should be moving. And the second thing is the edges are all pretty crisp, which may be an indication that the shadow was, or the video itself was AI created. Jake states at the 23 mark of the interview that was done. So there was, they showed this video, and then they did a number of interviews with people of the whistleblowers. And they also did a number of interviews with people who did testimonials for Jake. And they did a 2.57-hour video interview of Jake himself. And he says, I'm happy to say that we are moving forward in an official and transparent capacity to explore the answers to these questions that there appears to be no evidence for. And our number one goal now is to function in a private capacity with the backing of venture capitalists in coordination with some key departments within the government in order to start answering these questions in a transparent way related to the UAP topic. Early in the video, it was stated that Jake would share images of the egg retrieval that were in his possession, but these were not shown. I was looking forward to these images being posted so I could make copies and do an analysis on this, but it never occurred. Jake was unable to control his flickering, his eyeballs, when asked about his participation in the egg retrieval operation. At the 45-minute time, his eyeballs twitched uncontrollably. Was this an unconspicuous sign that he was not being able to tell the truth about the event? Russ Coulthard kept pressing Jake on how he felt picking up the egg-shaped non-terrestrial craft. He looked to the right. In body language, looking to the right typically suggests tapping into creativity or constructing something new. Looking to the left means the witness is recalling an event that occurred. Jake's body language indicated that he was fabricating detail or imagining an event. At the 2:13 mark of the full interview that Ross Coulter had with Jake, Jake says his organization was going to have accountability, but not transparency. Did Jake misspeak, or did he make a subliminal confession? So this is the first part. And then we go into the second part. Hang on. MUFON, the PAT team, there were 5 of us on the team. And they put out the case to the PAT. They say, analyze this video. And what we try to do is authenticate and identify. And so 4 of the 5 of us believe that this was not an authentic video of a helicopter scene. And this is what was posted on YouTube by Ron James, our media director.
Access granted. This is a MUFON TV special report. Recently, there have been a couple of videos released claiming to have retrieval of objects of non-human origins. MUFON's photo and video analysis team is the best in the world when it comes to UAPs. Let's hear what they have to say.
Last week, Russ Coulthart, an Australian UFO researcher and television personality, along with News Nation, a network, had a 2-hour special where they introduced the world to a whistleblower named Jacob Barber. During the 2-hour presentation, News Nation shows the world a very short, less than a minute video in night vision that seems to be a helicopter with a tow line picking up or dropping an egg-shaped UFO purported to be about 20 feet long and 8 or 9 feet wide. The problem with the video obtained independently by News Nation, not by the whistleblower, is that we have no metadata. We don't know where the video was shot. We don't know when the video was shot. And Mr. Coulthart and News Nation have not released that information. That makes it very hard for the public to judge if we're looking at something real or if we're looking at a possible hoax or staged event. However, MUFON has a 6-man crack photo analysis team, and to the best of their ability, they're going to give you an idea of what we might be looking at based on what we can actually see and what we can actually hear in the video. The head of the MUFON photo analysis team is Mark D'Antonio. Mark is a long-time UFO researcher. He is a television personality. He is an astronomer, and he is a photo and video expert. So we'll begin with Mark.
I wanted to tell you, I looked at this egg video, and one of the things that I felt right away was that a whole bunch of questions were just flooding into my mind. Things like, why is it being set down in a field somewhere? Why aren't there any other vehicles or personnel surrounding it like you'd expect? Why isn't it being set down in a place that's invisible to prying eyes in a field? That makes no sense. Why isn't it being set down in a military facility, right? I mean, that's true too. And they say it's night vision, but this doesn't ring true either, other than the color. I've seen night vision. I've worked on night vision videos and analyzed many a night vision video. And we're seeing what looks like a filter that is making it look like night vision, but it was something done during the day made to look like it's at night. That's what I'm feeling right now. And part of that is the shadow of the object. If you look at the shadow, it's a very sharp edge shadow of the object. And you can say, well, you know, they could have lights on the thing. Sure, they could, but where are they? If it's that big, why aren't they closer? Why are the lights? Are they a mile away, half a mile away, 400 feet away? Doesn't make any sense. So the shadows are wrong. Now I could say, well, as an astronomer, I'll look at the moon and say, hey, well, this could be like a full moonlight when the moon is like just rising. But that doesn't ring true either, because there's no other indication in the video of light from anything other than something on that object. So it has to be a spotlight of some kind. But there's no hotspot anywhere on the video indicating where the light may be coming from off frame, because the source of the light would certainly be visible to the night vision system that high up in the helicopter, and you'd see a hotspot just off the view. I think Dennis mentioned the navigation lights would flash, and yes, they would. But let's say they had them off, you would still get the hotspot. So that's true. If that's true, then all that's true, then I don't find this to be very credible. The other thing is, we're hearing a sound, like, okay, let's make it a helicopter sound. Technical cameras, downward looking, technical cameras like this, number one, would not have sound associated with them. They usually don't. And number two, they wouldn't be in such an impractical location. They're right next to the cable. So you actually see the thickness of the cable blocking a lot of the important view. So this doesn't make any sense to me. So there's a lot of things wrong with this. And so I think that based on all that and seeing the input from the fantastic photo analysis team as well, my personal feeling is that this is either a hoax or it's a recreation, and a bad one at that, of an event that may or may not have taken place. And Bob, you rightly called out the as well as others, that the shape is really the perfect chicken egg proportions. So what it is, I can't tell you, but I am calling it a hoax. I'm probably, if I assign a percentage, which I like to try and do it now all the time, I'd say this is 98% hoax. And I only leave the 2% just on the off chance. But 98% is pretty good. If you had 98% odds that a surgery would go bad, you wouldn't have the surgery. Okay, so that's it. I think my feeling is it's a hoax.
Next up, we have Seth Feinstein. Seth Feinstein is the MUFON Colorado State Director. He has a BA in film production. He also runs the MUFON Photo Forensics Boot Camp, which will be held this year in Cripple Creek, Colorado, from May 16th through the 18th. Information on that is available in our biweekly newsletter. What do you have for us, Seth?
I have some problems with the recent News Nation broadcast with Ross Coulthard, where he states the obtained footage from a secret UAP program, an egg-shaped non-terrestrial object, is being carried by a helicopter and dropped into a field. The helicopter was piloted by whistleblower Jacob Barber. Military helicopters film with infrared and, in this case, with night vision. The cameras on the field of view should have cast an overall murky lime green hue that does not appear in this footage. There are no strobing or aviation lights visible throughout this entire footage. A spotlight under the helicopter is focused on the ground, yet the egg casts a shadow off to the right. That means that there was a second spotlight near the ground level to the left to illuminate the egg object. We hear a helicopter sound, but nothing else in the video indicates that a helicopter was present. No ground disturbance can be viewed from the whirling blades, nor do we see any shadows from the rotating blades above. This egg-shaped object in tow looks to be about the size of a 20-foot by 8-foot object. And an object of this size would have some weight to it. Let's say maybe 1 to 3 tons of weight. Now, when the object is dropped gently on the ground and it does not plop or does it indent the soil, instead it falls on its side and then rolls. The path behind it shows no signs of any alteration to the ground soil. We do not have the original footage where we can authenticate and validate that this footage has not been altered but this does not affect my conclusion. This film appears to be a studio-created event, using a bird's egg to represent a full-size non-terrestrial flying egg-shaped craft. After numerous broadcasts, recordings, and public statements made that this video is authentic, Richard Dolan has come out and said that this footage was a reenactment. Whomever engineered this whistleblower event must have figured out that the event could easily be debunked. This video is a hoax.
Next up, we have Sam Maranto. Sam Maranto is a longtime MUFON field investigator. He is also our Illinois state director. He also has a media background, decades in photo and video analysis.
This is Sam Maranto, and this is my cursory analysis of the video that was attached to the News Nation whistleblower piece that was just released not too long ago by Ross Coulthard, who was the investigative reporter. The individual who is the witness, the whistleblower, the relevance to the video is that he was a special operations helicopter pilot who did transport and transportation of sensitive objects, retrievals, be it mechanical, man-made, high-tech, novel, exotic, and what is also known as UAP. Now, in this instance, they attached a piece of footage, video footage in there, and it wasn't very long. It was relatively short, a few seconds. And that video was of a special operations helicopter retrieval. And of this retrieval, you can see from the belly hatch a tow line, and that tow line going to a sling. And in this sling, which is about 150 feet long, that tow line, there is a ovaloidal egg-shaped object. There's no discrepancy there. It is sitting in this sling, and that appears to be a netted sling on higher resolution and analysis. I did some analysis. I've done some carve out of from the video, and also of a carve out done by Greg Cisco. In both of those, I was able to receive, or I should say in many of those, I was able to retrieve detail of netting, which would be exactly the type of sling that you would use for such an object. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that this object is somewhere in the range of 20 feet long, and it is an egg-shaped object. It is not an egg, so to get that out of your mind, anybody thinking that it is not an animal egg, be it a chicken or a platypus, it's not an egg. It's just the shape, ovaloidal type shape of object. Now, as far as that video, apparently it came from a separate UAP retrieval operation, and it was highly sensitive. It was attained directly and independently by News Nation. It was not that of the operation that the new whistleblower had mentioned. This was something entirely separate. Now, there are issues as far as some folks thinking that because it was a night operation, apparently, it's a night vision, it's in green night vision, which would be the green phosphor versus, say, for instance, the white phosphor, which is being used today in the night vision goggles used by the pilots and crew. They actually fly with night vision. And in fact, the funny thing about it is if you're not using it for some period of time, you have to be retrained after X number of days if you haven't been flying with it. It is very complicated from what I've been reading. So when you're looking at this video, it is green. Now, it doesn't mean that this could have been a daytime operation and somebody could have filtered it with a software that does make it look like a night vision type of video. That can be done. Being as we have absolutely no access to this information, no idea where it was shot, how it was shot, what it was shot by, if it was the camera in, say, for instance, the belly of the cargo area in the helicopter. We don't know. We have no idea whatsoever. So all these things remain a mystery. The only information we have is what everybody else sees on TV and on YouTube. The only difference is we were jointly asked to evaluate it, and that's why I say it's a cursory analysis on my part and everybody's actually. And my opinion is that we need more information to make a decisive evaluation to some degree. And at best, it could be evidence of a UAP, but it isn't anything substantiating that it is or is not. I don't see anything here in particular suggestive of a hoax. In good faith, I know that Ross Coulthard would not do that. And I'm sure he did a very good job analyzing and looking into the veracity of what was being submitted. But, you know, trust also needs to be evaluated. So I'm sure he did that. And that's where I stand right now on this. And I guess in a couple of days, he's going to be coming out with a longer version of this interview. And I hope in this version, he will be able to have that witness confirm that this does look like what he had seen, because that isn't in the initial presentation that I seen on News Nation, unless somehow it was edited out. I didn't see him confirming that or saying a critique or giving a critique either way. But I look forward to seeing this new interview or this new length of the interview, and hopefully Jake, the new whistleblower witness, could come forward and tell us one way or another what he thinks of that video. And thank you.
Finally, we have Greg Sisko. Greg Sisko is a state section director for MUFON in Illinois. He is an astrophotographer. He is a longtime MUFON field investigator, and he was also spent 40 years at Fermilab as part of their IT security team. Greg has a slightly different take than the other team members, so we'll finish up with Greg. Greg, tell us the way you see it.
The video in question was the big reveal on the UFO special from January 18, 2025, with Jacob Barber as a helicopter pilot who worked allegedly with he claims, with the Legacy program, and his job was to move things around up and down the range. In some cases, it was boxes. In some cases, it was an egg. The egg in this particular video was not one that Jacob Barber himself picked up. It wasn't a video from Jacob Barber himself. It was another video, apparently from another mission. That's what we're led to believe. There's nothing in the video that the photo analysis team or myself personally has that can tell the time, the date. We have no metadata. We have nothing except the video that everybody saw on the TV screen. And there is no way to tell whether that particular video was real or not. But what the video actually does do quite well is it illustrates what was alleged that the legacy program does. And it was basically that the legacy program has an effort to capture, collect, and reverse engineer vehicles of a non-human origin. And in some cases, those vehicles do include biologics, and that is the big deal, along with the technology, right? So ironically, Lou Elizondo basically wrote the exact same thing, same idea in his book Imminent, and that was on page 244. That anybody that has the book, go ahead and check out page 244, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. You know, it could be a hoax, it could be fake, we just really don't know. But the one thing I can tell you is the one reason why I am not going that route 100% is because of the USS Nimitz and the Tic Tac video. So as many will remember, in December of 2017, the New York Times released a story about ATIP and the USS Nimitz incident and the famous Tic Tac with Commander Fravor. And it turns out that they also released some videos along with that story. And the Tic Tac video in particular, it turns out, was released on the internet in 2007, 10 years before the ATIP story came out. It was released on a German website. People on the website Above Top Secret, I guess, were talking about it. And it turns out that there was a lot of back and forth about whether it was faked, whether it was hoaxed. And it's basically the same as what we're going through here on the egg. It turns out that 10 years later, that video comes out. The government and the Pentagon confirmed that that was a real Department of Defense video, and whatever that Tic Tac object was unknown.
Finally, I'd like to add that we also did a analysis of the dimensions of the egg-shaped object in the video. It appears that lengthwise compared to widthwise, the width is about 77.1% of the length. We compared this to various bird eggs, and we found that those dimensions approximate very, very closely a quail's egg. Whether or not we're looking at a quail's egg is not for us to determine, but all of the information we have presented to you today is for you to come to your own conclusions about. So with that, I'd like to say, if you see something, report it to MUFON. You can go to our website, MUFON.
Okay. All right. Well, so we posted that. That's on YouTube. It was posted by Ron James. After that was posted, I'm calling it the Egg Video Drama Take 2. MUFON response, the expert testimony, the Pentagon, and the email drama. We were, MUFON Media Director Ron James set up a podcast for Matt, the State Director of Florida, myself, and Craig Cisco to discuss our testimony on the egg video. Matt Kellison was the first on. While he was on in the chat, I could see that Greg Cisco was going to debate my findings. I used the half hour to review my 30 pages of notes. When we came on, Greg gave his testimony on why he did not care if the video was authentic and stated he was the dissenting investigator, and that the 4 others who did a report thought the video was not authentic. What Greg was basing his opinion on was the Leonard Stringfield research, where he had a egg video that was approximately 30 feet in length, and the egg craft that Stringfield said had nearly no weight to it. But in this case, Jake Barber stated that the object weighed something below 5,000 pounds because that was the capacity of tow for the helicopter he was flying. And, this image here is a picture that Jake Barber alleges is a picture of the egg, which they summoned in through psionics, and that the object was moving at a speed of 10,000 miles per hour. So the other thing, Greg and I are friends, and we continued our debate for about 2.5 hours the next morning. Anyway, so it's kind of nice that the way the PAT works is we all use scientific methods and the things that we specialize in to come up with our own opinion. And I do believe it is an opinion. And occasionally we all agree, and sometimes we don't all agree. We could have different opinions. So after the MUFON YouTube post and the Jeremy Scott podcast into the paranormal, all of a sudden, the Pentagon has revealed that it is now investigating claims made by a government contractor that he retrieved a crashed egg-shaped UFO. Now, I can't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure the idea came from some of the research that was posted by MUFON and also the podcast that we were on. So what did we do? Well, the Jesse Michael podcast posted other images of a helicopter and an egg retrieval video, which is, if it's not real, it's an extensive and costly production. So we have an egg retrieval in the above photo, and we have inside a helicopter in the other one, as well as the previous shot of the egg, which is supposedly the egg traveling 10,000 miles per hour. But what is interesting is the photos that were posted on the Jesse Michael podcast are completely different than what was in the video for the egg retrieval. And so as the state director of Colorado, and we have a pretty good website, it's comufon.org. Some of you might want to check it out. But I get usually a contact us or an email daily, and I answer every email I get. And so some guy named Tom Calcaro, if any of you know who he is, please let me know. Send me an email and let me know who he is. But I don't know him. And he wrote a very nice inquiry or email, and I sent him back my answers. But copied on the email was my wife Anniversary, Tom Wertman, Chris DeBerno, and 2 other unidentified emails. So this is what happened next. The image that you're seeing here is actually the image of the retrieval that was posted on the Jesse Michael's podcast. Jesse Michael also did about a 2-hour interview with Jake Barber subsequent to the Ross Coulthart interview. And so here what we have is looking at the side of the helicopter. And the difference between this looking at the side of the helicopter and the one that was posted by News Nation is you could see parts of the helicopter here. So not only in this video, you see parts of the helicopter out the window. In the other video, you see no helicopter out the window. And in this video, you see the shadows of the whirring blades as they're going around outside the helicopter. In the other video, you don't see any shadows of any blades whirring outside the vehicle. So after let me go back one. I got this Tom Calcaro. So I sent him back a very nice email answering his questions. And 5 minutes later, I get this. Hello, Seth. Ross Coulthart here, News Nation correspondent. As you know, I made the original Jake Barber story. I'm copied into this email, and I've been following your extraordinary unfair assertions made below. So what I did was getting that email, I could feel my blood pressure shoot up in the sky. And I needed to make sure that reply really came from Ross Coulthart. So what I did was I emailed back Mr. Calcaro, and I said in the email, who is this person at the Proton email, and who are you? And he replied, you know who he is. He emailed back to you and copied me. So based on this occurring and this being an international media contact, I had to follow the state director handbook and contact our media director. So the clause in the state director handbook says we must refer, should a member receive a media request outside of this process, they must direct these media requests to be referred to media@mufon.com. No member shall reply to these requests until cleared by HQ. Standard reply is as follows. So I contacted Ron James. I was on a call with Ron James and Robert Spearing. I had to explain myself, and they realized I did not initiate contact with Ross Coulthard on my own, and I was not granted any permission to reply to the Ross Coulthard email, and I was further informed to stay away from this Tom Calcaro dude. Our media director corresponded with both the entities, and the final outcome of the correspondence is, well, Ron James did inform Ross that we did contact him, that we were doing this investigation, and that we tried to do it with him and involve him and get the original video, and he did not answer. So in the final on this call between Ron James and Ross Coulthard, Ross agreed to send us the original video for MUFON to perform a conclusive assessment. Now, this was probably about 10 days ago, and I don't think we have the video yet. So I don't know if we're going to get it, but we have a promise to get it. Ross interviewed, as part of this story, which he said he put together for over a year, he interviewed 3 former military for Jake Barber testimonials. Retired Lieutenant Colonel John Blitch, who is now a PhD, Fred Baker, U.S. Air Force Special Warfare veteran, and Don Valls, the elite 82nd Airborne Unit. And John Blitch is an award-winning research scientist and former professor with a diverse wealth of experience, a small business owner, corporate vice president, nonprofit director, advanced research program manager, a retired lieutenant colonel with an unprecedented 5 command tours spanning nuclear weapons delivery, special operations, and hostage rescue. This guy is amazing. And then we have Fred Baker, is a highly respected figure in the U.S. Air Force Combat Control and Special Operations community. His 20-year career in Air Force 24th Special Tactics Squadron, an elite Tier 1 unit, culminated in his retirement with a Master Sergeant. Baker's expertise lies in air-ground communication, including air traffic control, fire support, and command control. Then we have Don Paul Valls. He's of the elite 82nd Airborne Unit. He is now called the MMA Sensei. He has an amazing military special forces career, and he also took on a corrupt police department in his region. He's a very brave man. All 3 of these people are people who were born with a special purpose. They're all warriors. They're all people who, they're all heroes. They're amazing people. And these are the people that Ross Coulthard used to get testimonials on Jake Barber. The testimonials confirm that Jake is who he says he is and that he is a trustworthy person. What the testimonials did not confirm was knowledge of his participation in the egg retrieval event. Okay, so I looked up Jake Barber on LinkedIn, and I also looked at his Facebook. And this is the picture of the guy who came up. I don't know if it's him when he was like 18 years old or whatever, but it doesn't look like Jake Barber. And I don't know what that means. It's just a fact. Okay. Jake's vision is for disclosure. He says his team will be a catalyst to pave the way for peaceful disclosure. Jake says this will happen within the next year. The government and contractors he is working with will utilize his team to disclose everything other than what is a matter of national security. Okay, so in the long interview, Ross Coulthard kept pressing Jake on how he felt when he picked up the non-terrestrial aircraft, because Jake said he felt love, he felt fear, he felt that there was a psychic connection made or whatever. But Ross Coulthard kept cueing him over and over and over again, and then finally he teared up. And I'll just say that that's what happened. I recommend looking at the 2 hour and 57-minute long video interview, and also looking at the Jesse Michael interview for those of you who have further interest in determining if this is a real event. These are quotes from Jake Barber in the interview. We plan to produce evidence with our teams, which we have used for years within the legacy program and machine-based technology. We are backed by venture capital and are also working with all the equipment, which kind of has to be blessed. Well, let me miss that. Blessed, brought in when it is a psionic-led operation. So what he's saying is his team has developed the technology through using mechanical psionics and human psionics to call in these crafts and force them to crash so that they can capture them. Early in the 2 hour and 57-minute full interview, it was stated that they would share additional images of the egg pickup. No images were shown. These are the images that I posted from the Jesse Michael podcast interview. Why are these images of the egg retrieval so different between the two podcasts? So we have the one on the left, and we have the one on the right. So the one on the left is the News Nation production. The one on the right is the production that was provided to the Jesse Michaels people. And if you look, the egg on the left is more flat on the top and pointy on the bottom, and the egg on the right is more pointy on both ends. So I don't know what it means. So you have the two helicopter shots, which I talked before. This is the News Nation one, where you see nothing of the helicopter. You see no blades whirring. You have no splash from the blades. In the helicopter shot to the left, you see parts of the helicopter looking out the same view. You see splash in the air from the blades, and as it moves along, you see the shadows of the blades propelled in the foreground too. So are these really both helicopters? You look at the ground on the News Nation video, and there's no variations in height. There's no divots. The egg, when it hits the ground, does not make an imprint. As it rolls, it does not mark down the grass, push down the grass in any way, which leads me to believe that it is artificial turf. there's no variation, no height, no change in elevation, no bumps. It's all, to me, it looks like they rolled out a carpet of AstroTurf on a cement floor, which to me means a studio production. At the 2:13 mark of the full Russ Coulthard video, Jake states his organization was going to have accountability, but not transparency. And I said, what? So he said, did he misspeak or did he make a confession? What can we conclude and what is my opinion? Jake Barber is who he says he is, and his background per the testimonials is accurate. This venture is an entrepreneurial endeavor utilizing his experience and his contacts. I do not believe he has the influence to cause disclosure within the next year, and the egg retrieval video as shown on News Nation is a studio production, not an authentic event. I am open to updating my opinion if the data is present to prove otherwise. So that's my talk on the egg, and this was another one of the eggs produced for the Jesse Michael show. So I'm just thinking that as we're talking here, I'm thinking that maybe they were promised to be posted in the 2.5 hour interview with Russ Coulthard, but somebody figured out that it doesn't match what they broadcast. It would add too many questions to put it up. But anyway,
And before, if anyone hasn't raised their hand yet, I was kind of curious where they said they could use psionics to, bring a craft down and then capture it. You said that, and I was like, that sounds like a really, really, really dangerous game. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
yeah, it's dangerous, but it's unethical.
Oh yeah, agreed. Yeah.
I mean, it's a hostile, warlike activity.
Yeah, totally, totally. Well, Brad has his hand up, so I'm going to ask him to unmute so he can chat with you briefly. Brad, you should get a request to unmute.
Yes, thank you. I have a question. Have you tried analyzing what that rope structure is that's connecting the alleged helicopter with the egg? And if it is a studio creation, the whole thing, where we're using thread, string, braided, I don't know what. Have you looked at that?
Yeah, well, yes. Actually, Matt Kellison analyzed the cable that's coming down, and he did a detailed analysis on the podcast that we were on, and he explains exactly what it is. And that is the what is it called? Well, it's the podcast that we were on with hang on. If you I don't remember what I wrote in there right now, but it's in the podcast. Matt goes over it. Or if you want, you could email Matt for his Matt Kellis and look him up as the Florida State Director. But he does go over the detail on that.
Yeah, and Lou has his hand up, and Lou, looks like you're already unmuted, so Lou, go for it.
Am I coming through?
You are coming through.
Well, two questions. Where in the world or in the country was this location supposed to have taken place? And secondly, has anybody figured out what the hell the egg would be?
Well, I have two unique experiences. One is I have been in a field in Wyoming. I don't know if you guys know about from the Rocky Mountain UFO conference that used to be Leo Sprinkle's conference. And there's McGuire Ranch, which was a place that's owned by a ranch that's owned by the university. It was owned by a rancher named McGuire, and he couldn't find water to water his cattle. And he was visited by extraterrestrials, and they told him where to drill for water. And he spent his whole life ostracized because he talked about it and I guess didn't know better in rural Wyoming not to talk about it. But I was in a field with 4 people, and we had landings of egg-shaped craft. There were 7 or 8 of them that all of a sudden appeared in the field that we were in, and they were all around us. And the closest one was maybe 50 feet from us. So I had seen actually egg-shaped crafts that were about 20 feet in length, the long length, 20 by 8 or so. So my experience from that was that the egg in the video that was broadcast by Russ Coulthard was more rounded at the top and pointy on the bottom, and the ones that I saw were equally pointy on both ends. And then the second experience that I have that is different than that is than most people is my neighbor is Lieutenant retired Major Boucher from the Air Force, and he ran a team of crash retrieval team for the U.S. Air Force for about 13 years. And he said everything that his team retrieved was all explainable, and most of it was parts of Russian satellites coming down. So I think that having retrieval of non-terrestrial crafts is a very rare thing. And did I answer your question, or did I get carried away and go the wrong way?
Well, I mean, what's inside that egg?
Well, what I heard, okay, so where did it take place was part of your question. And what I heard was this is a rumor from the research I did, but it was at it was in California at it was Grumman. What's the other name Grumman uses too? It was at a Grumman facility in California. That's what I heard. Northrop Grumman. Is that what they go by now?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what do you think is inside?
Well, what I heard was they have a captured egg and that they couldn't get into it. They tried everything to get into it. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true. Okay. Well, if there's no more questions, so 2 other cases I did that were not really MUFON cases. I did the Las Vegas alien case, and I did the 20-foot creature scaling Long's Peak in Colorado. Have you guys heard anything about that? Let me pull that up.
The Las Vegas one was big for a while. That was kind of an interesting one.
Yeah, that'll take a little more time. What happened there was I did a full investigation on it and for the Las Vegas case, and I actually through photo forensics was able to screen print a shot from the police cam before the police it was redacted. The police cam video that was part of the $6.5 million viral posting on YouTube and was part of every news agency's production was redacted. And I had made still shots from it and was able to, through photo forensics, find that there was a probably a 7 to 8 foot humanoid figures in the back of the backyard where the police faced their camera. And so that's pretty fascinating, but that's not a short presentation.
Right.
And what happened there was last year I was working the MUFON exhibit or booth at the in California at Contact in the Desert last year. And next to us in the booth was this really tough looking guy. And he pulled out his wallet, and I saw a Las Vegas Metro Police badge in there.
Mm.
And so I went up to him and I said, "Sir," I say, "are you a police officer for Las Vegas Metro Police?" And he said, "No." He said, "I just retired." I say, "Sir, do you know anything about the Las Vegas alien case?" And he said, "Yes, I interviewed the witness." And then him and I had a conversation.
I
And
bet.
yeah, and I showed him, he agreed to receive the findings and the research I did, which turned out to be an article in the MUFON Journal. And so I said, "Can I please send you the video overnight and have you look at it and tell me if it's all true or not, or what's true and what isn't?" And so he said, "Yeah." And so I sent him the research. And the next day I asked him what he thought about it. He said, "Well, everything you say in there was true, except for one thing." I said, "What was that?" He said, "Well, I didn't know I was an MIB and I left my black van home so nobody would be suspicious." So apparently he was the person who did the surveillance of the witness's property and the witness after the event had occurred. So
Mm.
he was a wealth of information, and that added, really, I should post a follow-up on that. But it's kind of like this case here. When I got the email from Russ Coulthard, it opened up a whole can of worms or a next level of research. And I have like 38, 40 pages of research on the egg video. And also I've been in contact with John Gordon Blitch, PhD, former Army Special Forces guy. And him and I are going to have a talk. Right now, John Blitch is up in Leadville, Colorado doing high altitude training with military people. Leadville is like 10,000 feet above sea level.
Wow.
Yeah. And the Army has a facility up there that they do high altitude training. And apparently he's a trainer up there. So after he gets done with that, him and I are going to have a talk. I asked him if I could take him out to lunch or dinner, but he wasn't comfortable with meeting, even though he's a real special forces killer guy. Anyway, but let me share this research, which will give you an idea of what a photo forensic report should work on the 20-foot alien. So on 9/22/2024, and then I had a final on 9/28 because you keep collecting evidence. And so this is the Jesse 20-foot tall climber. So we had two witnesses, Jesse Clausen and Camille Aravella. They are young people who were climbing a 14er in Colorado, Longs Peak. What happened was they took pictures of themselves when they reached the peak or near the peak, and in the background appeared to be a 20-foot creature scaling a rock face behind them in the photo. And this became a viral event. Every news company in the world picked up the story and posted it. So what we do first is I posted the links to the videos in the report, and the witness Jesse video, one had no metadata, date, time, or geodata. The image had no metadata as it was a crop shot of the image. But this is the image that caused all the brouhaha. And what I did was I saw that they were part of a climbing club. And so I Facebooked the climbing club and asked them to have the witnesses contact me, that I was interested in researching it. And so I got an email from the girls. Okay. So it was shot with an Apple iPhone 15 Pro, f1.8, 1/2000 shutter speed, which probably means there was a lot of sun, even though it looks like there was overcast. ISO 100. Normally, when you're doing when you're authenticating a video or a image, you really need to do more than one type of photo analysis to pull the metadata to match it up and make sure it's good. And for those of you who use forensically, my experience has been do not use the metadata function of forensically. I recommend using Pick2Map for videos and Pick2Map for stills and metadata to go for videos. They were at 13,989 feet. So they weren't quite at 14,000 yet, but you could see in the image, which we'll see more of. Let's see if I can bring this up. Oh, I can't. Here's the video. So there's the video. The lighting isn't good in this way we're doing this here. Okay, well, what you can't see in the way this is presented here is I have 3 images. One of them's a video. And in this space here, which you can't see, is a creature scaling the peak. And it's a pretty steep peak. And there were no clones detected. The noise analysis and error analysis showed no signs of the image having been photoshopped or altered or cropped. So sometimes with the forensically, it rotates to the left, but you could see this is the outline in an LG image of what was climbing the mountain. And that was about estimated to be about 20 feet long. Its head was forward and down. The left leg was bent as if in a climbing motion with 2 extended arms holding or lifting the body. This is a humanoid figure, or is it pareidolia? Here's another shot, PCA of the image. Again, sideways. The humanoid appears to be whitish in color. The rock is graphite and in dark color. If this is a humanoid, he might not be wearing any clothes. I mean, it doesn't look like he's wearing clothes. His body parts are out of proportion, and there may be some dysmorphia. So I took another shot, a 4 to 8x magnification with no enhancements, and I couldn't see anything in the image. And then what I did was I looked up medical terms to explain the uniformity or disproportion of the giant's anatomical proportions. And I found that there's a real disease called Marfan syndrome, which is an inherited disorder that affects connective tissue, the fibers that support and anchor your organs and other structures in your body. Marfan syndrome most commonly affects the heart, the eyes, the blood vessels, and the skeleton. People with Marfan syndrome are usually tall and thin, with unusually long arms, legs, and fingers and toes. The damage caused by Marfan syndrome can be mild or severe. If your aorta, the large blood vessel that carries the blood from your heart to the rest of the body, is affected, the condition can be life-threatening. So here's some shots of what it looks like. And I would say that if this was a real biological creature, they had Marfan syndrome. They had a tall and slender build, disproportionate long arms, legs, and fingers, a breastbone that protrudes outward or dips inward, a high arched palate and crown teeth, heart murmurs, extreme nearsightedness, abnormally curved firing, and flat feet. So, unfortunately, the reproduction of the videos are really hard to see. So some other guy sent in a picture of the same space, and there is a figure in this space here. So I was able to retrieve other photos from other people of the same space. And I did the photo analysis, the metadata on that. Again, I'm sorry that the copies are not good to see. I could send it to you in an email. I'll send it to you in an email and you can distribute it if you'd like, where they'll see it. Well, this one, the lighting is better. And you could see that the creature in this photo, he's in a different stance and there's something wonky about his right arm here. It looks more like a hook or a question mark than it does a real arm. Well, here's another shot of it. So it looks really weird. The metadata for this image was created on 9/16 at 1835. It's different than the original size that we have in the first image. That tells me it was done with a different camera. So this was taken on a different date, different time, using a different camera, a Motorola. The rock formation match up to the original, which tells us we are looking at the same location. I'm not too sure that the date created was the original date or the date of the download. Okay, I think you might be able to see that pretty good. An interested party provided this image to our witness after the viral news publications came out. The metadata for this subsequent Hayek image was not available. We have a location match with this image. We can clearly identify that a 20-foot humanoid creature is a rock formation. We can see the arms, legs, and torso are all rock. So we have the original, we have the wonky one, and then the one with that shows that it's not a biological entity, it's a rock formation. The rock formations map the location. We have 3 different images, all the same location. There is a humanoid figure in all the images. That the pose changes as light conditions and the angle of the view shifts. The image taken in August was taken in the shade under a cloudy sky. The other 2 images were taken in sunny conditions later in the day. The third image clearly shows the humanoid figure is a rock. I did the weather report, and then I have my summary and opinion. Once again, we use scientific methods to understand what we're looking at, but our conclusion is really an opinion. And the event being evaluated took place according to the metadata on the original image of 8/24 on 2024. We have 2 other images in the same exact location to make a comparison. The light conditions and the time of day were different on all 3 images. We have no metadata to determine the date and time on the third image, and the creation date on the second image is suspect. What's really important is we know that all 3 images, based on the weather conditions and the light conditions, were taken at a different time, which gives us 3 comparisons to be able to come up with a summary and an opinion. 2 hikers climbed Long's Peak and took a photo near the top. When zooming in on the steep rock in the background, a humanoid figure, subsequently labeled by the media as the 20-foot tall creature, is hanging from the rock cliffs. The creature was at a far distance in the background behind the witnesses. The witnesses did not see the creature with their own eyes. That's our biggest sign for lens flare, as you guys know. The 20-foot tall person was naked, no shoes, no rock climbing equipment. The humanoid body proportions seem more or disproportionate. The arms and legs are too long. The 6.5-second original video scans the location too fast to track any motion in the humanoid. We only have the still shot, which does not show motion. The media is in a frenzy for this event. The event went viral. A second and third photo was provided to the witness, taken at a different time. These are our baseline images to make a comparison. The rock formations in all the images confirm the location match. The images were taken at different times based on weather and light conditions and the sun's positioning. A humanoid figure is present in all three images. In image 3, we can clearly see the humanoid figure is really a rock formation. AI technologies in the Apple iPhone 15 fill in distant and unclear objects to help them make us make sense based on program logic. The original image was taken in low light conditions. iPhone 15 technologies shoot multiple images to create the best pictures in low light conditions. You guys know about that they're using AI conditions in the Apple iPhones. So really in low light conditions, it'll shoot 4 images to make one. So you're not really seeing what is really there. You are seeing a composite made from 4 shots. That happens in low light conditions. The 20-foot tall creature scaling a rock cliff face on Long's Peak is a rock formation enhanced by natural light conditions. The human interpretation of the image being a 20-foot tall humanoid creature is an example of pareidolia. Pareidolia is a tendency for applying meaningful interpretation based on nebulous stimulus so that a person detects patterns and meaning where there is none. Examples of pareidolia include looking at clouds and seeing angels or animals in cloud shapes. This case is a rock formation misidentified as a cryptic or alien giant. So that's the research on what I did for that. And that wasn't a MUFON case. So I've been, as you guys know, one of my other jobs with MUFON is I'm the team lead for the CMS coordinators. And back about 2 years ago, we were getting 150, 175 US cases every week added to the CMS. And now we're only getting, 60, 70, maybe 75 cases added. A lot of this, you guys know, has to do with the competition and them having big dollars to pay for placements. When you pull up MUFON, I've been told we don't come up to the 11th page or the 7th page for investigating sighting reports. And, so Enigma puts in big money to come up as the place to report sightings. So we're having a drop in sightings. And so I've been trying to push MUFON to investigating viral events on the internet. The egg video was the first one that they did that was not a CMS report. And the first one I tried to get them to do was the Las Vegas alien. And they didn't want to do that. So I did it anyway. And then the second one I tried to get them to do was this 20-foot creature. And they said, we don't do cryptics, which we don't do cryptics. We know that. And then the third one, they pulled a PAT on it. So I'm very happy that happened. But what I learned is that you have to be cautious and try not to offend anyone.
Yeah.
And it's almost a political type of thing. I like doing research, and I like talking about the research I do. But I don't like being the talent out there. I don't like doing the talent thing.
Yeah.
And I like sharing my research.
Yeah, I'm still kind of puzzling why, looking at I'm trying to imagine if I were in that situation, looking at those pictures, I don't think I would have picked out that rock formation as being at all. I don't think I'd even look twice at it. It makes me wonder why the hikers looked at that and go, "Hey, there's someone or something there." That seems kind of odd to me that they would have that impression.
Well, actually, you can't see on the the rendition of this. But when you're looking at it in not this third generation thing,
Mhm.
this is what you see. I mean, it's sideways because forensically turned it sideways.
Right, right.
But this is what you see climbing that rock, and it does look like somebody very big is climbing the rock. And so the girls, they just posted it on their climbing club Facebook, and something like Weird Colorado or whatever picked it up, and then everybody had it within
Right,
2 weeks. Everybody had the story, and these girls were getting contacted by everyone. And so I gave them the report, and I said, "You girls, feel free to send it out to every news agency or anybody you want.
Mhm.
Tell them the truth. Let's get the truth out there." Nobody followed up with any publication. They just wanted it to be anomalous.
Yep, yep,
All they're interested in doing, they don't care about the research.
yep,
What they want to do is sell papers, sell gain followers, and all
yep,
that kind of stuff. They
right.
don't really care if it's true or not.
Yeah.
We care if it's true because we're MUFON investigators,
Mhm.
right?
Exactly. Yep, yep. Well, we've only got a few minutes left. Does anybody have any questions for Seth? Please throw up a hand, raise your hand in the chat, or put a message in the chat, and because we got a couple minutes left, I'm sure Seth would be happy to take any of your questions if we've got any questions out there. Have anybody got any questions for Seth?
Well, I got a question for you guys.
Uh-oh, sure.
So when you do the Starlink reports, do you guys use Heavens Above to know whether a Starlink was citable in your area?
That's a common one we use. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you do. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty seem to be pretty accurate. There's so much stuff on there, it seems to, yeah, we rely on that one if it comes up that way.
Yeah, you just have to click back one date at a time, one day at a time to get to the right date.
Yep, yep. Well, we got a new message. Let's see if it's a question. So Carol says she's a visitor. So Carol, she says, "I love the professional approach and the scientific method. Well done." Do you want me to? I'm gonna ask you to unmute Karen and Carol in case you want to talk to Seth personally. So, oh, and then Bill McNeff is asking, when you saw the eggs on the ground, why no pics?
Okay, so good question. Really good question. Okay, so we were in a field in Wyoming, and as you know, there are rattlesnakes in the field, and it's dark, and all of a sudden these egg crafts appear in the field, and what happened was there were four of us who drove into the field together, and we kind of held hands and did like a contact thing, sent up a pillar of light, imaginary pillar of light, and tried to create a contact situation. And then a guy in a pickup truck was on the property, and he drove up to us and he said, "What are you guys doing here?" And we said, "Well, we're here for UFO contact." And he looks at us and he says, "Wait here." Okay. And he drove off. We watched him drove off, and he starts signaling with his headlights on his truck.
Mhm.
And he starts signaling, and then he comes back to us. And we didn't introduce ourselves or give him our names and stuff. And what happened was all of a sudden there were 7 or 8 they were orange in color, and they were egg-shaped crafts, and they're not side to side, they're top to bottom as they're moving. And all of a sudden we were surrounded by 7 or 8 of these things. And they didn't just stand still, they were like hopscotching around the field. It was like they didn't just park and stop. And they were maybe the lowest was 5 feet off the ground or whatever, but they were moving all around us and hopscotching. And I go, "Well, does anybody know why they're here or what they want?" And the guy who we didn't say our names or introduce our names, and he says, "Well, is there anybody here by the name of Seth?" And I said, "No, my name is Seth. It's not Seth." Okay. And he said, "Well, the guy, his name is Zatar, and he's here to meet you.
Whoa.
Oh, I said, yeah, guess what happened? I said, well, what is he, a humanoid or what? He goes, he's a gray. And guess what? I went into shock. I didn't have a cell phone back then. This was like over 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah, yep, yep.
But everybody has cell phones now to take pictures.
Right, right.
But I was really scared and I went into shock. So I couldn't even think of recording any data.
Did you
Bring
meet with him
anything
then or
back.
no? Did you
Huh?
meet with him? Did you meet with him then or no?
No, I got told that the reason he didn't come out or bring me in was because I was in shock.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
that's what happened.
Yep, yep.
But I've had 3 up close and personal experiences in my life, so and
Wow.
that was the most significant one.
Wow. Very cool. Well, someone doesn't have a question, but they want to thank you for your persistence in your analysis and thank you for stopping the mass hysteria for these types of misinformed events cases. So yeah, so thank you for all that. And as long as we're thanking you, I think I'm going to try to see if we can unmute everybody, but we'd like to give Seth a big round of applause, give you a clap round of applause, and thanks Seth for his fantastic presentation. Thanks for coming out and visiting with us, Seth, and sharing all
Thanks,
that
guys.
information with us.
It's a pleasure.